Welcome in, folks. It's Tuesday. Time to submit to the High Council here on Road Class Bullshitters. I'm your very happy host, Jeff Hicks, and with me tonight is Andy Andrew. What is up, my
and
friend?
I am an even happier co-host this week because I didn't have to suffer through another hour of the Acolyte.
Every minute that goes by that I haven't thought about that show is the best minute of my life.
Right? It's like
for giving me the best
praise to
week
baby Jesus, praise to baby Yoda, all of them. Just like, thank you, God. No more Acolyte. I'm so happy.
Now, our final host for the evening is probably very happy himself for a multitude of reasons. Say hello to the one, the only, the script doctor.
Hey. Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah.
Man, you got to dial back that enthusiasm there, script. Like, it's palpable, man. And you're all the way up in Canada.
Star Wars coming up with another, released another terrible television show. And it's like, oh, yeah, the sky's still blue. Sun's still hot. Star Wars on TV still sucks.
More things change, the more they stay the same.
Exactly. And, the Skeletons Crew is going to come out later this year. And that's going to take the trophy of being the worst of the Star Wars shows because that's how it always is.
Will it?
Of course it will.
We'll see. I'm sure there will be commentary that'll say as such, but I'm curious to see if it's actually genuinely worse because I think that
from my opinion, the measurement is Ahsoka. Ahsoka's worse than the Acolyte still.
Because
it wastes way more time.
It does waste a lot of time. It's one big useless side quest that goes nowhere and nobody does
exactly.
anything.
Not only, it also wastes, a named actor. Ray Stevenson is wasted just like Carrie-Anne Moss is in the Acolyte. So there you have that. You have you have a very inappropriate relationship between master and apprentice, which, both of those Acolyte Ahsoka has as well. And then on top of that, you have Sabine, who risks the entire safety of the galaxy to get a hug from Ezra. So Acolyte doesn't go that stupid. I'm sorry, it doesn't. It goes bad, but not that stupid. And then you take Thrawn and you continue to make him the dumbest strategist in the Star Wars.
Dumb down Thrawn.
Universe.
Yeah.
As well. The egregious sins in Ahsoka outweigh the Acolyte only slightly. Like, I would say a handful of feathers. If you put them on, a ton of feathers on either side of the Libra scale, a handful is a little bit on the Ahsoka side compared to the Acolyte.
I think Obi-Wan Kenobi or Book of Boba Fett might be the one that I consider the least because they didn't take characters I like in the Acolyte and do stuff with them. They kind of ruined my favorite Star Wars movie by having a Darth Vader fight.
Yeah, Kenobi's like the most egregious, right?
In script, you could attest to this because you've been out west. Like all that shit that went on, like in the hills, that's just like LA's backyard. So I look out my window and it looked like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader could have fought on the hill behind my apartment. They didn't even CGI out the oil
towers. Yeah,
it's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, like just zero effort involved whatsoever. Truly insulting.
Yeah, and why was Jennifer Beals in the Book of Boba Fett either? Because, and look, I guess you could say the greatest travesty would be The Mandalorian because that started out good, and now it
had its potential, and it squandered it really quick. The first one is like you're telling me you have a 55-year-old baby. And your logic is to say, well, some species age slower. Yes, physically, not mentally, or else they'd be dead. If it took you 55 years to have the mental acuity of a 5-year-old, you're not making it to 55. You're just not.
They don't think of these things, man. They just, hey, it's cute. It's funny. It's cuddly. It'll sell merchandise. And it did. And then it
do that for about 5 minutes.
When I go out filming my toy videos, which I'll have a new one for you guys this week, because I found the Ahsoka stuff on clearance and as well as more. There's newer Baby Yoda stuff at every discount store. I never see it at Target anymore. It's like it just didn't go to Target. They kind of skipped over it in the mainline retail.
Maybe Target was like, you know what? We're not going to buy stock of that.
We've minimized our Star Wars section to nothing. But folks, we have a lot to talk about this evening. We're talking about the countdown to Deadpool and Wolverine, San Diego Comic-Con preview, some toys that I'm excited for from the con, and a whole lot more. But first off, we're going to say we did it. If you follow us on social media, If you follow us, well, Twitter is social media, but WOKEBUSTERS passed its goal. Now we're 102% past. So I'd like to thank everybody out there for making that a reality. Now, folks, the book ends on Sunday at 12:12 p.m. I know that's an oddly specific time, but if you want to guarantee yourselves a copy, well, the Kickstarter's a go. So you can go over there right now. The link is in the description. People in the chat, I've been celebrating. I've been getting great messages from some of our backers. They're like right over there. So, I just want to tell everybody thank you. It was a journey to get here, and now it's here, and we're just going to continue to move forward with it. So, like I said from the beginning, book's done. There's really not much to say about, like, we're going to do this. We're going to go get it printed after the funds clear, and then it gets shipped out to you. And I've been really, really fast with the Stealing Solo website. Our friend Kevin Flynn in the chat can attest to that. So, folks, when these books get here, I'm going to give you the same turnaround time that I give you with the Stealing Solo website. So it'll be quick turnaround, fast fulfillment. We'll live stream it. We'll turn it into a party. I already got some of the supplies ready, and it's going to be exciting. So, folks, there are just 4 days left, Sunday at 12:12 p.m. And if you want to get one of the deluxe boxes with everything I've ever done, that is a way to get everything. That'll lock you into the copies of Stealing Solo that are left, too, because I have a small allotment for that put aside. So all you got to do is go to the website and get a copy. I can't thank you guys enough for making this happen. So let's make 2024 continue to be awesome. And we can with the word of the day from our friend John Thomas. Beat Shrebbles 08.
He beat Shrebbles?
No, right?
Shrebbles, you're slacking.
Oh, he's here, but he was late to the party. So Shrebbles 08 did not bring us the word of the day. Our friend John Thomas did. And John says, word of the day is tipples. Back to the tipples. The tipples awaken. Star tipples. Tipples in the sun. Indiana Jones and the tipples of doom.
I was going to do that one.
Tipple all the way.
Tipples and Wolverine. There you go.
There you go.
Star Wars, The Tipples Unleashed.
The Tipples Adventure.
The Tipple Brothers.
Adventures in Tipples.
The Never-Ending Tipple.
Tipple Busters?
There you go. Clear and present tipple.
Hot tub tipple machine.
That sounds
Tipple's
good,
Instinct.
Tipple's Instinct. Mortal Tipples.
Tipple Fighter.
Man of Tipples.
Super
Alien
Tipple
versus
Brothers.
Predator 2 Tipples. That's terrible.
Electric
I'm sorry.
Tipples. Electric Tipple.
Captain Tipples Mandolin. Or Captain Corelli's Tipples. There we go. If we could get Nicolas Cage involved, it'll be a better film.
Greatest American Tipples.
Homer's The Tipples.
Have we done Tipples on a plane?
No,
We have now.
There we go. So, John Thomas, thank you for your Tipples word. Folks in the chat, you can play with your Tipples at home tonight as we celebrate the WOKEBUSTERS passing its goal. I will be back in the morning on Good Morning Pop Culture to celebrate as well as give you guys a show. And then I had such a good time on Saturday, and you guys really liked the Saturday show. So I'm going to give you another Saturday afternoon. Just hang out. I'll take Sunday off.
Great stream.
I had fun with it, man. So many people were just like hanging out, wanting to talk about stuff. We had the call-ins. It worked. Folks, thanks again. It was great to show you guys my creative process. I went through my sketchbook and showed you like how I map out stuff. It was a lot of fun, and people seemed to really like it. And so I want to thank everybody who watched that. And there we go. Shrebbles 08 says, I'll take a new motorcycle button, please. Of course. Here you go on WCBS.
Did you see that guy accidentally hit that moose with his car?
No.
Holy shit. Jamie, pull that video up.
Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god.
Just completely lit up.
Well, you shouldn't steal a purse.
Nope.
Mm.
Nope. No, you should not.
Clone Geek, yeah, we talked for 90 minutes on the phone. See, folks, when you call WCBS, you do get a direct headline to me. It's not a joke. Like, it really does ring, and I really do answer. So maybe Thursday night we'll let you call, and you can ask Dion a question. That could be fun. But thank you to Shrebbles 08 as well as John Thomas. And let's start talking about our first topic of the evening. See, I got myself conditioned for Good Morning Pop Culture, and now I got myself thinking it's morning when it's evening, and vice versa.
We're training you again.
I feel like I got it back, like I'm Neo. I am the one. I am the one, and now I'm just gonna see through everything and dodge the bullets. You know, The Matrix is a great movie. It's the end of the story. There we go. Real quick before we start talking about Deadpool, which I did not mean to close out, our friend Enrique Vasquez sends a super chat. Thank you, Enrique. He says, "Hail, High Council, Jeff. Congrats on reaching your goal on Stealing Solo 2. What are your guys' favorite breakfasts?" And a number 57, please. Script, I'd like to know your favorite breakfast first.
Okay, well, I've got two. And one is from when I was young and didn't need to watch my health and what I eat. Another one is what I have now. So my favorite breakfast, it was big. It was a stack of pancakes, waffles with syrup, French toast, Canadian bacon, regular bacon, hash browns, and cereal, usually corn pops or honey nut Cheerios.
Damn, that sounds tasty. And
and I would have that.
You're ready for the day after that.
I would have that every day because I'd wake up an extra half hour to make it with my dad because he would do the same thing. That was when I was in my growth spurt stage, so I would be like between 110 and 120 pounds for like 5 years, and then mid high school hit, and then I went to my stable weight, which is like 170, and that's what I used to eat. Now my favorite breakfast is really just French toast and Fiber One cereal.
All right, fair enough.
Andrew,
gosh, the most simplistic version would be French toast. I absolutely love French toast with, ample butter on top, maybe some sliced strawberries and banana as well if you want to get super bougie, but just French toast on its own. Pour on that maple syrup, make sure there's plenty of butter on there, like
bingo.
Some powdered sugar, some little cinnamon maybe. Oh, that's good stuff. But also I love a really good, like epically stuffed omelet with like sauteed onion, pepper, mushrooms, you just put some steak in there, bacon, just go until the thing is ready to burst.
I had dinner, but I could go for breakfast at 9 p.m. You guys want to go to a Greasy Spoon? I'll buy.
Let's do it. I'll hit the road right now.
Yeah,
I'll take the show on the road.
Yeah, man. You know what? I'll drive halfway to you two. We'll meet in the middle of like Missouri or something, and we'll get Waffle House.
That sounds like a show, honestly.
That would be a fun show, actually.
If we end up in Missouri at a Waffle House, we could probably witness a fight break out there too. So
or a shooting,
or that.
I did watch somebody. Oh, not like I didn't go to watch, but I happened to be at Waffle House when somebody was ODing in the corner by the jukebox, and it was really weird because it was a Touch Tunes, and somebody would add songs to the list as the person was fucked up on the ground getting attended to. And it wasn't amazing. And it wasn't me. It was me and my cousin. We're sitting there because he always got this like country ham, and he's like, we were drinking, so he's like, I need 3 orders of this shit. So he went and drank, and we saw. Anyway, what my ideal breakfast is, I do like biscuits and gravy. Anywhere I go in the country, I gotta try the biscuits and gravy. When I went down to LibertyCon in Chattanooga a few weeks ago, well, sorry, I was reading the chat. I got biscuits and gravy with shrimp and grits, and it was like the best combo ever.
Shrimp and grits.
I do like shrimp and grits too. It's another. Every time I go somewhere that has it, I gotta try it. It's usually a brunch, but it's always good. So if you've never had it, check it out, dude.
Shrimp and grits is not something I've ever conceived of having.
It's so good.
But I find grits to be almost like oatmeal to a degree. It's just
kind of is.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Well, what they do is they blend it with like cheese and other spices, so it's almost like it's just like a cheesy polenta. So it's not really funky and nasty and plain. It's full of spice.
Yeah, but the thing is, like the name, it sounds like it's like many of one thing. Like there's a grit, and then there's grits, but grits is actually it's just one thing. Really.
Down here in the Midwest to South, we got all that stuff.
Yeah.
I also love bacon, omelets. It's like, what don't I like for breakfast? Now, when I was younger, I would allow myself to eat the country fried steak at IHOP. That was
Ooh.
the worst meal on the menu. But man, is it good. And it's got gravy. It's got fried elements. It's got bacon. Or I got bacon on the side. I like breakfast food. Every time I close out a campaign, I usually go to a nice breakfast. I did for Stealing Solo, the Phantom Menace edition. Maybe I'll go to Cracker Barrel because it's close by and I really like Cracker Barrel. Or I'll get Geta.
There you go.
Geta's good. It's local, though. I'm clearly in the South or close to it. Everyone's like, what are you talking about food-wise? I'm like, Cincinnati, we have our own food. We have our own chili, our own pizza, and our own breakfast meat. We don't really need much else. It's all okay, too. Now, speaking of okay, folks, what we have here on the screen is Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, some people are saying this is going to save the Marvel Universe. Other people are saying it's just going to be another film. But the critics are saying that's not very good. And I was very surprised by this. Now, I'm going on Thursday. I will have a review for Thursday night show. That's what we'll be talking about on the podcast proper. And then I'll have a video of the review for Friday. So be on the lookout for all that from WCBS. But on to this. After this button, a number 57 for our pal, Enrique.
Did you see that guy accidentally hit that moose with his car?
No.
Holy shit. Jamie, pull that video up.
I freaking can't.
Satisfying. Yes, what a twist. So, Deadpool Wolverine has a lot of people talking, us included. Now, this movie is said to make fun of the MCU. It's supposed to be self-aware, but a review from GameSpot has me questioning if any of that's going to matter, because I'm not going to spoil it, folks, for you. I'm not going to talk about this in detail to ruin the film for you. But I really wanted to draw your attention to this surprising score because I didn't expect it to be this low. GameSpot gave it a 4 out of 10. That was a surprisingly low score, man. Since you saw that, Andrew, what did you think of it at first?
Well, my first reaction was to take a look and see what the other periodicals were saying. Because a lot of times it's tough to gauge these things, right? Because it's like, oh, well, the critics are panning something, so sometimes we can't decide if, oh, does that mean it's really bad, or does that mean, oh, it's probably actually really good if the critics hate it, type of thing. Sometimes it feels like we can't make up our mind with that. So I like to try and see if there's like a kind of a through line with all of that and see where a discrepancy might lie. But with all the other websites that I'm seeing, a lot of them are either calling it really fun, or they're saying that like earlier reviews are, ranging from, an absolute blast to just like mediocre or junk. And it's like, wow, it's kind of all over the place. So I don't actually know what to think. Other than it's possible that some of these websites might be rating it low because it's a comic book movie, and it's not a comic book movie that's trying to push an agenda like so many of the other ones that Disney's been trying to pump out through the MCU as of late, so it feels like that's consistent. At least I feel like it is, where if it's something that there's clearly a message, right, that they're trying to push in front of the entertainment value, the website critics, they're all propping it up and putting out puff pieces for it while the audience pans the thing. And then the ones that are just kind of meant to be a fun comic book movie get either overlooked or swept under the rug or what have you. But I'm genuinely curious because this kind of felt like the MCU's Hail Mary,
It does. And I'm going to ask Script what he thinks of this, and then I'll tell you, because I did read the review. I'm not going to spoil it, and it won't color my perception of the film. But Script, any opinion on this or thoughts?
Well, in today's modern age of media coverage, I don't give any of them, even something like this is GameSpot. I don't really know who they are, and so I'm not really worried about what they care about a movie. I'm worried. I'm more concerned with how the audience responds to it right well. And the ones that are like the critic audience, the ones that they aren't paid critics, they don't always go to press screenings and whatnot, but they are able to get some previews here and there. They have said it was a great time. And they also stipulated that it is neither a woke movie nor a based movie. It's just a fun film that has a lot of Easter eggs in there for X-Men and Fox film fans. And no, it's not going to fix the MCU because you can't fix what has happened to the MCU with a single film.
No, impossible. Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, it's going to take a plan. And the only thing I'll tell you from this article is it doesn't have a plan. It feels just like the rest of the MCU Phase 5, where it seems like it's going to tie in, but it doesn't at all. And
so it almost feels like it's its own standalone movie.
Yeah. The review wouldn't talk about the cameos. It wouldn't talk about that. It just says most of the cameos fall flat and serve no purpose, and the plot is unnecessarily complicated for where it ends up. So
wow. That's the opposite that I heard. I heard that the cameos actually do serve a point. And have something to go on with it. So, hey, I like the fact that there's different points of views for this film, because that
doesn't seem like all the critics are writing from the same script.
Yeah, it seems like that might be something to talk about, because again, a movie survives when the audience wants to go back and see it again and has lots to say about that film. Because if you just want something that's entertainment for entertainment's sake, that's dangling keys in front of a 5-year-old. That's entertainment for entertainment's sake. But if you want something that really hits, that actually you can make money off of, it needs to engage and needs to be a conversation starter. And if you've got critics on one side saying it's bad and critics on another side saying it's good, but they're all coming from the same kind of sphere of things, then that means that there's a debate there. And the debate is where you make your money. I mean, that's what happened with Barbie. Barbie made over $1 billion. Some people thought it was crazy woke. Some people thought it was satirical. I'm one of the ones on the satirical side. I've read the script. It's got all the hallmarks of a satire in the writing and the scene headings and the scene actions. So that leads me to believe that's what the intention was. So yeah, and then you have Oppenheimer, which, that's a philosophical film. Lots of debate. Were we right to, build the bomb and then basically use Japan as a 2-for-1? Oh, actually, two birds with two stones, essentially. Bomb Japan twice. 1, to scare Japan, and 2, to scare Russia so that they don't try to start something with us now that the Second World War has been over for 6 months. So that's basically what that was. But that sparked another debate. People went back to watch that movie. So I hope that's a good sign of things for the people that worked on Deadpool, which, even though it's technically an MCU movie, I believe it's still under the 20th Century Studios banner. And the most consistent thing I've heard from the critics is that it's a swan song and a goodbye message to 20th Century Fox and that version of Marvel films from that studio.
Do you miss the 20th Century Fox Marvel? Either of you guys? Anybody in the chat?
No, and I was like an extra in the first X-Men film, and I don't even care.
I enjoyed several of the films from the 20th Century Fox kind of cinematic universe. Like, I like the first 2 X-Men films quite a lot. I don't like Last Stand. I love First Class and Days of Future Past, even though I have to completely forget that I've read Days of Future Past in order to see that movie for what it is. But I mean, it's still just an overall fun film. But then again, like the following X films after that, seems like they can't in any iteration get past number 2 in terms of putting out something of quality, because Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix were both ass. I loved the first Deadpool movie. Can't stand the second one.
Thank you.
The second one's ruined by the fat kid.
Yep,
that's
exactly.
I don't like the overly emotional message or the honest dramatic moments where it's not really Deadpool. It's like a not Todd Phillips. Who did The Hangover? Judd Apatow. It's like a Judd Apatow comedy where it's really funny, like the funniest thing you've ever seen, and then it gets serious, and then it doesn't get funny again, and you're just like, I hate these movies. That's how I felt with Deadpool too. It's like it starts out as this goofy thing, it gets crazy, and then it gets kind of like, oh, I'm like, why is this in there? And then it picks back up to being zany. Don't get me wrong, but I just didn't really dig that movie. I don't ever watch it. I like the first one quite a bit.
Yeah, I saw the second one just the one time in theaters, and I was like, nah, I'm good.
No, exactly. It's like you've got Ryan Reynolds and Josh Brolin, who are two powerhouses.
Yeah, it felt like a waste of that.
And I know it just
potential
goes,
buddy cop film.
Well, here's the thing. It just goes down to show you, it doesn't matter what sort of famous actors or famous character pairing you put together. If the movie's still not good, it's not going to help. Again, look back to Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Not only do you have Batman and Superman on live action shoulder to shoulder for the first time on screen, you also throw in Wonder Woman there, and it did not crack $1 billion. It barely broke 800, and it only probably did it for the spectacle of the fact that you had those three there. And if it was a good movie, that would have been a $2 billion box office set.
That should have beaten anything
dwarfed
that the MCU
The Force
has done.
Awakens. Yeah, but it doesn't. It just goes to show you it doesn't matter the types of characters you use, the actors you get. If you don't have a great story, you're not going to do anything. And basically, it's like, oh well, we'll just make it good. Well, that's easier said than done because it's really hard to make good things. It's really hard.
Sure. It's even harder to make good things that the audience also genuinely finds entertaining at that time.
Look, I know this movie's going to make bank. The projections are like 340 million worldwide opening weekend, between 160 to 170 domestically. I'm sure it's going to be this big hit and all this stuff. I just hope it's not annoying. That's all I'll say. Ryan Reynolds is very into his own brand of comedy, and I like it. But overall, I have a finite amount of patience for it. So I hope this one has some really clever stuff, and it just doesn't rely on the same cocaine, baby body part growing back, Al's blind. You know what I'm saying? Give me something different. That's what I'm hoping for.
Evolve the humor a little bit throughout the course of the film.
Yeah, make me laugh. But don't try to make me cry. But I hope you have some over-the-top, bloody, violent kills, because I would like to see gore. I did like that in the Deadpool movie.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to see a movie that will make you laugh and also make you cry a little bit, I'd recommend Thelma. Because it's grandma gets swindled and she decides to go after the crooks that took her money.
I saw that. I didn't see the preview. I saw that in the Regal app when I was recommending movies to my mom. She's like, "What's that?" I'm like, maybe you don't want to watch this one.
It's not violent, but it's sweet and it's funny, and it plays into a lot of grandma tropes, honestly. And it's based off of a real woman named Thelma Post, who was married to Ted Post, who is a famous film director. Well, not really famous, but he was an acclaimed film director. And it's got June Squibbs in it, and she's really you wish she was your grandma. That's how wonderful she is in this. And then it's also got Richard Roundtree in his last performance as far as I know, and he's awesome in it too.
I heard that Richard Roundtree, he's a bad mother. Oh,
shut your mouth.
Thank you. God, I love that movie so much.
Yep.
I'll check it out. I do like movie grandmas. Now, I will say I had a great grandma. I'll say the best one. So I'm going to watch this movie and go, I'm sure this lady's great, but I was lucky.
Remember, you have two grandmas, right? So, she can replace the one you didn't like.
Oh, yeah. On my dad's side, she was terrible. I never met her. I heard stories, though. Happy Gilmore's grandma is a pretty high bar to pass in terms of best movie grandmas. So if we can get past that, then
I would say they'd be great grandmas to have both of them shoulder to shoulder to look after you.
You ever see Grandma's Boy?
Yes, I have.
That movie's great.
That movie's weird. Now that grandma who also played the mom in Everybody Loves Raymond, she's been a character actor.
Doris Roberts.
Yep. She's adorable. Love her. Her role in that is playing the video game to prove that her son made the video game was a funny gimmick, but I think the Happy Gilmore grandma and Thelma grandma probably are another tier above her just by a smidge.
When I was watching an episode of Tales from the Crypt, the actress who played Happy Gilmore's grandma pops up and she plays a villain, and I'm like, I can't get mad at this lady. It's Happy Gilmore's grandma. Don't worry about that. I don't know if we'll ever do a top 10 movie grandmas. It would just be like Happy Gilmore's grandma. I'm gonna take Script Doctor's word and say this Thelma lady, and then like, well, Princess Leia's not a grandma, so she won't be on the list. But we'll get some movie grandmas. We'll just get all the grandmas from Grandma's Boy. They're all good. So I'm seeing a lot of people talk about the ads. This movie's kind of like guaranteed to be a hit, but I'm glad we all are kind of on the same page that it's not going to fix all of the problems. I just hope that when we get past this, that it looks like there's a direction for all of these movies, for any movie, really, because it's always good when you know there's a plan. Instead of telling me about 27 crossovers and all this other crap, you can be like, oh yeah, this is our plan. We're going to get to this bad guy at the end of this phase. I'll be happy to know that. No, I didn't enter the Deadpool sweepstakes to win the Xbox controller with butt cheeks. I thought that was a little weird. Did you guys see that?
No.
Yeah,
I'm not
I did.
interested either.
It's like a magnetic attachment to the back of the controller, like where would be right here, right? So it's got a magnetic attachment that sits there, and it's the freaking ass cheeks. It's hysterical. It's not something I would ever want, but the fact that they made that, I was like, well, I mean, I guess you're going all in. That's fine. You even did the ass controller.
In my experience, magnets and electronics don't belong together in that way, even if it's an attachment. It's like you already have a magnet in your speakers, and you have to keep that for a certain distance away from your computer, even with their own magnetic shielding inside there. It's just no. Leave magnets alone.
No, I get that.
Just put a clip in there. It's easy. Just those little snap clips that you have for toys, like belt buckles and stuff. Those work. They're fine. They're reliable.
What I think is going to be interesting to see with this film is not just obviously hoping that it's good, but I've yet to really determine which of these two things is true. And maybe it's a split. Part of the reason why the MCU is in the place that it is, like, let's just even remove all the stupid ideological crap for a second. It, as Script said, it feels directionless, right? They've got all this stuff going on, and it seems like they're telling us it's supposed to all tie in together, but they're not actually showing us that it all ties in together. They haven't done anything with that. On the other hand, so audiences are like, well, why am I bother being invested if, nothing actually is connecting to each other? So if I'm not particularly interested in one of these films right from jump, I'm not going to go bother wasting my time and money to see it. On the other hand, I think there might be and I want to make sure that there's delineation between these. I don't think there's superhero burnout going on. It's dog shit burnout going on. But I do think there might be something to saying that there might be a bit of a burnout on the large interconnected cinematic universe thing, where it's like trying to connect 1.5 zillion different things at this point. Because, I mean, if you want to tell, a more contained thing that, you have a couple of spinoffs here, but those first 3 phases of the MCU, that honestly, I'm starting to believe was just kind of lightning in a bottle, and then that was it. They're not going to capture it again because people were invested for the decade. They had their fun. The vast majority of it was a good fun time. People probably still own the DVDs and Blu-rays and rewatch them from time to time, but beyond that, they're like, good.
Well, I think it goes to the fact that when they were starting out, they actually didn't have a plan. Their plan was, let's just make the best movie we can, and then we'll tag in something to make it connected. That's probably the safest plan you're ever going to have, because the moment you try to plan the details of multiple movies, you're almost doomed to fail, because you can't not guarantee how the audience is going to respond to that.
Right. You can't you can't pivot to the kind of reactions of your audience.
Exactly. And I think to Marvel's own hubris, they stumbled onto a Thanos saga, which again, that whole Thanos, the Infinity Gauntlet thing, that's from like the late 80s, early 90s. So it's a relatively fresh area of Marvel Comics to be drawing on. And they use that to work in the stories that they started to basically essentially say, like, the whole reason Iron Man exists is because the Tesseract fell into human hands, and they were able to extrapolate some information out of that to create the arc drive and and basically create this ripple effect of how the MCU works today. I'm like, that's a cool, happy accident to have, because they did not plan it that way. It just ended up working out that way. And from there, they got into their heads, well, this is what's required of us every time. We have to have phases and sagas and larger overall stories. When truth be told is you really don't, because what are the movies that a lot of the moviegoers go back to watching? It's those first 4 or 5 Marvel movies up until the Avengers. You don't hear much talk about Avengers Age of Ultron. Barely hear. I mean, even though I think Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man was actually quite good, you barely hear much talk about that. You do hear stuff about Winter Soldier and aspects of the Civil War. But a lot of the other movies around those are kind of not on the table anymore. And I think it goes to show that when you take a look at Winter Soldier and Civil War and Ant-Man and the movies prior leading up to the Avengers, those movies are very self-contained, of that character, focused on in a specific story, and their dependency on each other is actually irrelevant. It's not leading up. Everything outside of those movies are very dependent on each other. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, great point. Absolutely. That one is a very outside of the normal continuity of what's going on the Earth side things of MCU. And Guardians of the Galaxy did gangbusters. So that seems to be the message that you should be getting from those films if you're a film producer is, hey, let's focus on just making one good movie as it is, gauging the audience, figuring out what they're looking at, figure out what they're responding to, figure out what gaps that they're kind of clamoring for, and the best way we can surprise them by executing those questions, and go from there. And that's basic movie making. I mean, that's what they did with the James Bond series. Not only were they adapting the books, they were also saying, well, how do we give it a little bit of an extra edge so that people that have liked the first few movies that we shot relatively close together will keep coming back for more and more. And that's what they did. Marvel just needs to take a page out of that. They did the smart thing. They took a great set of pages out of Richard Donner's Superman film. The next thing, given that they've now crossing 30 movies, getting closer and closer to 40, is, well, how did James Bond manage to stay consistent for essentially 35 years?
Well, the secret was they're not interconnected. They're solo adventures. If they do reference each other, it's in passing lines of dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
And they also kept them fresh. They kept coming out where none of them were bad, so there was never a break or a need for a break. So it's kind of like every other year there was a new James Bond adventure, and people were on board with it. The only reason they took a break, too, folks, is because there were legal reasons, not because License to Kill was that big of a flop. But it's kind of
there's a couple of battles. There's also casting issues as well.
Good old T-Dalt left, but hey, I like Pierce Brosnan as James Bond, so I'll never be like, oh no, Dalton was robbed. He was good. Living Daylights is a great movie, but he had his time, just like Pierce Brosnan had his time.
Exactly. And you know that, I mean, yeah, the only time I can think of a direct reference, a strong one, is in The Spy Who Loved Me, where Triple X says remarks on his marriage in Majesty's Secret Service, and he shuts her down really quick on that. And that's as far as you need to go. I mean, the other part too, the one way that they do make it connected without it being in your face is, for a while, M is the same actor, and then Q, played by Desmond Welland, kind of keeps you going. It's like, yep, okay, I get it. This is how it works. We're cool. I'm comfortable. You're my security blanket to tell me that this movie's okay, A-okay. That's all you kind of need.
Yeah, and I even like too, like when Bernard Lee died, they had another background guy who was like on M's cabinet. He eventually was brought in to be the next M, but they don't make, like, in nowadays movies, they'd make like a whole subplot. We got to tell why this character is now this.
Like they did in the Daniel Craig series. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Mallory is now M. It's like, look, all right, this guy is now the M. We never talk about why. He's just M, and we move on. And that's what I like about Bond. It's like a never-ending cycle of a story, and you always want to know what's going on. Not, let's reset the status quo every movie. It just kind of, it's different every time.
Yep.
I do like when they address his wife's death in For Your Eyes Only when he goes back to the grave site. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. And then there's the helicopter chase through the Bowery of London or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Great comic book. You should definitely read it. It's a Marvel adaptation. Now, guys, have you seen all of the crazy merchandise? I think it was you, Andrew, that sent me a list of all the stuff, the popcorn buckets, the posters, the everything you can get. Anything on this list of yours? Excuse me, that was the worst sentence I've ever asked, or worst question I've ever asked. Is there anything on this list that you're going to buy?
Honestly, no. Like some of it, I'd be like, that's kind of fun. Like that's cool. I can see why people would grab that. But and then there's just a bunch of stuff that's like, why would you? Okay, that's fine. Like a blanket. Like okay, are you people dressing like for I don't know 1,000-degree weather when you're going inside a movie theater? You know, movie theaters are usually a little cooler. So like I'm not gonna walk around my home with a Deadpool blanket. I'm sorry, it's not my jam. I think that like the head sculpt popcorn buckets are hysterical, but I wouldn't want one like that. I feel like that would be just kind of annoying to use. Just like on a normal time that I want to watch a movie. When I went and saw, I sent you the picture when I went and saw Godzilla X Kong New Empire the first time. I went all out. I grabbed the big, the big gulp cup, big gulps, huh? All right.
See you later.
I couldn't pass up the opportunity. I appreciate you rolling with it. I got that's got a little Godzilla figure on top, and that was cool. I was glad I was able to get that, and I got like the big popcorn bucket thing as well that's split down the center. Like half of it has like Kong designs, the other half has Goji designs, and that's like the craziest I've ever gone for a film. Like I have no need for all of that stuff. I don't care. Like I'm just gonna go see the movie.
I'm a collectible snob, so when it comes to like something I want to get, like with Indiana Jones, yeah, I didn't like Dial of Destiny. Yeah, I didn't like anything that came from that movie except the merchandise. So I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to buy an Indiana Jones popcorn bucket, but I will buy a Japanese import figure from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So like with Deadpool Wolverine, if it featured I'm a Wolverine comic book fan. Like I will buy countless Wolverine figures from the books or the cartoons, but I own like 2 Hugh Jackman Wolverines because I got them because it was like a Hasbro thing. I was like, I should get these just in case they're rare. So I have that, but that's about it. Even when those movies were new, I never picked up anything from that. In Deadpool, I literally have 3 Deadpool action figures. I got X-Force, I got regular comic book, and I got the movie. It came with Negasonic Teenage Warhead. I'm kind of like purchased out for this one. I don't think I'll be, and it's not even like a protest against Disney. All they did is these new figures are just the old figures with different plastic injections. So I think this movie is going to get a ticket from me, and that's about all I'll be supporting this movie with. And it's not like a protest. It's just that's where the chips fall this time.
I'll use one of my free MCU or free movie tickets that I get through AMC. Like that's what I'll do.
I'm using my Regal Pass like I used for Twisters last week, so I guess that counts as a ticket, but I'm only paying a flat fee per month. I will get popcorn.
Yeah.
That's my guilty pleasure at the movies. A big bucket of popcorn. I'll just sit there and eat it one piece at a time. Just watch the movie. I hope the cameos blow me away.
I hope there are some cameos that genuinely shock me. It was like, wow, he's there or she's there. And it's not just like a little wink and nod, that there's actually some substance to it,
Folks in the chat, as well as you guys, what is the cameo that you would like to see? Don't worry if it, just pitch your dream cameo for this movie. Don't worry about possibility or actors' contracts. That's not for us to worry about. We want what we want.
That's not our problem.
No. I ain't paying Tobey Maguire to pop up on Spider-Man. I'm just going to pay my ticket price to see him as Spider-Man again. Oh, by the way, Andrew, when we show something in terms of San Diego Comic-Con and toys, I got there's a new Andrew Garfield figure out. And that's the one I would recommend you buy, because now the company that I go on about, they've released the Andrew Garfield's up for pre-order, and it looks great. I'm thinking about getting it. And then Tobey Maguire's at Comic-Con, the figure, not the guy. That's at Comic-Con right now, and I'm looking forward to it. So I'm gonna do, folks, I'm gonna do a lot of Comic-Con coverage this year. I'll give you shorts for the trailers. I'm gonna give you guys videos on the bigger stuff if there's stuff to talk about. But then I'm gonna do a post Comic-Con collectible countdown. It's not gonna be a stream. It's just gonna be a video where I go, these are the 10 things I'm the most excited for from Comic-Con. And then you say you want more toy content, we'll talk about it too.
Are you talking about the Mafex?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah, man. It's a nice figure.
Damn it.
Now
I
you
do want it. I do want it. I'm looking at it right now. And I'm like, crap. I do want that. Thanks. That's great.
So now let's listen into some of the cameos, and we'll give you guys a chance to think about it. Golf says Smoke Monster Galactus. I like that choice. Batman Well says Hit Monkey. We also have sneaking a bottle of Jack to the movie theater. I've taken many, many drinks. When I went to see The Rise of Skywalker, we all went to the liquor store first, and we got those mini shots back when they were still $1 or $2 for Jack.
Yeah.
And we liquored up our drinks really hard because we had a DD that night. It was Channel Dad Brian Lape. And so Channel Dad Brian Lape drove us. And folks, we snuck a lot of booze in there.
That's amazing.
We also have, let's see, Kevin Spacey. I don't think Kevin Spacey nor Kevin Bacon is going to pop up in this movie, but he could. Channing Tatum as Gambit. That'd be crazy. Charming Taint Man. I wish it was Liev Schreiber as Sabretooth instead of Tyler Mane. That'd be cool. You'd like Cal Dodd as an angry janitor. Not a bad choice. We have 2 for Channing Tatum Gambit. We also have Dr. Doom, Bruce Campbell. Sign me up for any Bruce Campbell cameo. It's Christina Hendricks and Sue Storm in the 4-window. Yeah, TLJ Screwjob. That's the greatest cameo of all time. I want that one. That'll be Zombieland's Bill Murray cameo.
I think I'm sold.
Morbius. Too many to count. What do you guys say? What do you want for that crossover?
I would love to see, because the actors are still alive, the actors from the Roger Corman Fantastic Four show up.
Oh, that'd be great.
That would be amazing.
I would honestly like to see some of the cast from the first X-Men trilogy over at Fox. I'd like to see that version of Cyclops. I'd like to see Famke. Not so much Storm. Halle Berry wasn't a good Storm. I'm sorry for people that loved her. It's not Storm to me. She's too cutesy. She doesn't exude power and majesty like Storm should. But I think mostly cameos from that cast would be kind of at the top of my list.
I would like if it was possible to see the X-Men cartoon come to life and be a cameo in this movie. Kind of like how they do Into the Spider-Verse with like Donald Glover.
Yeah.
It's just there. I'm just making this up on the fly. Realistically, I mean, we're not going to get like Blade is, Wesley Snipes' Blade coming back. That'd be fucking crazy. I'd like to see Spider-Man again. It's Spider-Man. There's never a movie that I don't think Spider-Man would fit in. Even something like, name a movie you could, except like a period piece. Now, I would watch a World War II film featuring Spider-Man. He somehow got sent back in a time warp. And so he's like, running around London as the bombings happen or something. He's trying to save people. I don't know. I'm just making this up as I go. But Spider-Man's my obvious cameo. I'd like to see Daredevil show up. Like Ben Affleck Daredevil would be pretty funny to me.
That would actually be quite funny.
I'd also like to see Alexandra Daddario play anybody. She's amazing.
A lot of people have been photoshopping her as Rogue for the past year and change. It's like, yeah, it's not bad.
I mean, she's got the face and everything else. So it's like, I'm glad people cast her instead of Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney's cool. Don't get me wrong, guys. I like her. But it's like, Sydney Sweeney's good for the blonde characters. Alexandra Daddario's good for the deeper characters. She's not a bad actress. Wow. She's been around for a long time. So
yeah, she started out as a late teenager actress. I mean, kind of child, but not really. Because she was in the Percy Jackson films.
That's what it was. I was going to say, was she in that Zathura movie, but that's somebody else.
That's a good one. Edward Norton as Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner?
Dude,
more likable than Mark Ruffalo.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo, huh? I would love to see that version of the Hulk show up. That's my favorite Hulk movie.
Yep.
Now, my favorite Hulk design is from the first Avengers because he looks very Jack Kirby-like. But I really like the Incredible Hulk. That's one of those superhero movies. You were right, man, Andrew, or was it Script who said it about people want to go back to that first wave of Marvel? It's like a weird time capsule, too, because it's like 2008 is not really that far away in the grand scheme of things, but it feels like a different world. And I'm just like, oh, shit.
It really was.
A long time ago.
Because like even when I've gone back to just check out older television shows and movies from that era of time, it's a mix because you have the theatrical films that are there to actually do something, and what's butting up against them was the straight to DVD market, which is really just there to steal your money. Like that's what it was. Like if you could sell something on DVD, you'd get a distribution deal because all the retailers would buy hundreds, if not thousands, of copies of that DVD. You made your money. That was the grift at that time, and it was kind of like a golden age of distribution, and it allowed for some fundings of some interesting films, and it's one of the things that helped get the MCU sort of started, as it were, because they not only did they do the pre-sales, which were actually kind of weak, but they were able to do some pretty big pre-sales on the DVD and Blu-ray markets to kind of pay for Iron Man, Captain America, Thor, and then negotiate a deal with Universal for the Incredible Hulk. And it was a sweet time. And what's I think is kind of interesting is that between 2005 and 2012, people actually did kind of appreciate how good we had it. Like we kind of acknowledged it because we showed up in force. We spent the money. We went to the movie theaters. We bought the merch. We shared and talked about it on social media.
Oh yeah.
We did not really take it for granted until 2016, because that's when we thought, oh, this is just us getting started. It's not the peak, but it was the peak.
Yeah, we had peaked. Yeah, we peaked there.
That was the peak, and then the decline was. It was not as steep as we like to embellish it. It was actually a rather gradual decline. It didn't steep until 2019. That's when it fell off a cliff. Because that's where you're in the point where it's like, okay, we're going downhill, but it's relaxing, it's nice, it's subtle, it's not crazy. Holy crap, what the hell? Now it's a drop.
Yeah.
I miss 2012 was my most visited year to the cinema. I went 53. I saw 53 or 54 movies that year. And
I saw one for every single week.
Yeah, my buddy Joel and I. But the thing is, not every week was I going to the movie. Some weeks it'd be a double feature or a triple feature. It's like, hey, we went and saw this movie. Hey, Paranorman's playing. Let's go check that out. There's a screening in 10 minutes. That type of thing.
Yeah.
I was in college. I had the time. But I loved, and I think I love going to the movies still. Twisters was a cool experience. It was surprisingly good, as I say on my title card. I enjoy the experience and I want to go, but I'm finding it harder to justify going because the movies just aren't at that level. Like Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm there. 3:00 in the afternoon. I got to go get ready for the show and do all that stuff. That's a top priority movie. Even if there was no podcast, a Deadpool movie would be a priority.
Yeah.
You realize, folks, we've been around longer than the first Deadpool. We reviewed the first Deadpool here on the channel the day it came out. So go back and listen to that review. We're that old.
Did you really?
Yep.
That was,
oh my God.
That was 2016, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yep. February.
Gosh.
We went to the Hofbrau house and then we went over to see Deadpool. I remember that day very vividly because things were just slowly starting to move. And I'm like, let's go celebrate with beer and German food, which I always do. That is my celebratory meal. I am German after all. So got to drink to the homeland. John Thomas sent in a very generous super chat. He says, I saw Twisters and Never Ending Story Sunday. This Sunday Man in which family-friendly fantasy produced by the Child Empress, 28th and 30th only. Oh, you did tell me about that. The Fathom event movie. Hold on. Where's my phone? After 12/12 on Sunday, I'm a free man because WOKEBUSTERS passed its goal. And so now we're going to, this has been the greatest day. It's also been Cincinnati Burger Week, so I've been kind of celebrating by eating way too many cheeseburgers. So it's been like a celebratory day and a couple of days before that. You guys have any?
They were just prepping. That's all you were doing. You were prepping for the celebration.
I'm really getting ready for SummerSlam next week, folks. And I'm just always preparing for the future. Yeah, the present doesn't matter. But no, John, I got another screenshot of it. I'm going to check that out if I can make it happen. Because, well, wait, 20th and 30th. Oh, okay. Yeah, that is next week. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Sunday and Tuesday, I think, right? Yeah, Sunday and Tuesday.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I should try to check it out. I'm just literally saying about how much I like to go to see the movie or go to see movies at the theater. So, yeah. Thank you, John. And hopefully you enjoyed Twisters as much as I did. I honestly liked it more than the original. I know that's sacrilegious to some people, but I never thought Twisters was that incredible. Like as a kid, I watched it and I was like, the cow, I get it. Everybody laughs.
Yeah.
And then I just didn't watch it anymore. I thought Independence Day was a much better movie of that year. If we're going to compare 96 films,
Yeah,
that was like it.
No, and Independence Day was far more fun and fantastical. Twisters, Bill Paxton couldn't save that movie. And you know he tried because he never fails to deliver on anything he does.
No, R.I.P. Bill Paxton. I love him in Weird Science. That's my favorite role, is Chet. But most people are going to say Hudson and Alien, or Aliens, excuse me.
Oh, I love him as the used car salesman in True to Lies. He's fantastic in that.
He's creepy in that movie.
Yep.
Well, never mind. I'll ask you that. That's off topic. Sorry. I'm preparing for next month, folks. We got Alien month, and so I've been watching Alien and Aliens to get ready for this video we're going to put out.
I need to rewatch those.
They're all on Hulu right now, so.
Are they?
Yep.
Okay.
Dude, Alien is such a good movie. I'm getting the button queued up for a super chat, but I've seen the movie many times, but I'm able to look away from when I watch it because the visuals are so stunning. And last night's viewing, I just was pulled in. I guess the transfer on Hulu is better than the old disc that I had back in the day. I have it on 4K. I just got to get it out of storage, but it just looked so vast. I was very, I don't know. And the design is great. So.
Okay.
Now, that was just me pulling for time for this for Shrubbles 08. Oh, yeah.
Dude, that tweet you did of the Steiner math was hysterical.
Right. Thanks. I saw that and I was like, hold on. We're going to put that out on Twitter. Dude, some guy shared our tweet on a live stream and we got like over 500,000 views on it. It's like somebody salty. And so I'm just like, say thanks to you, man. That was a nice push. So we got like a couple hundred followers on Twitter from that as well. That's why our numbers are going up on Twitter all the time. This platform, the red button, we need to figure that out and fix it. But Twitter, thanks. Guys, you're helping us grow. As soon as we can get monetized on Twitter, that'd be incredible. We'll be able to help the channel do more stuff. And by the way, folks, if you wouldn't mind, if you have Facebook, could you give the World Class Bullshitters official page a like? We are 45 away from 5,000. Then we can monetize that platform as well. So if you guys just go over there and give that a like, a follow, all you're going to get is a link to the stuff you already like from the channel. That would be greatly appreciated. And that's our next step to world domination. Enrique Vasquez, sorry, man, I didn't mean to forget to read this one in order. GameSpot also gave the Acolyte an 8, so
good point.
That is fair. That is a great point.
All remainder opinions invalidated.
The thing is, I actually read it and I go, oh man, I hope none of this is true. So that's it. Xavier to God, thank you very much for both of these super chats. My ultimate Marvel dream fan service movie would have Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, Ryan's Deadpool, Norton's Hulk, and Snipes Blade. Sign me up. Sign me up.
Dude, I'd happily toss in Evan's Cap as well and then call it handled.
I'm trying to think. Okay, so if I'm going to build a team like this is a great question to ask people in the chat as well. Guys, let us know your dream team. I definitely want to see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, and I definitely want to see Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man together because the quips are going to be great. It's going to be very funny back and forth dialogue. For the team's sake and balance, I wouldn't put Deadpool on my team because I would want a different type of quip, and Deadpool I think the humor would be in the fact that Deadpool can't match the quippiness of the other two without just resorting to saying like "fuck you" or something. So that would be a funny thing to do. But I'll throw in the Wolverine, Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. I'd want to see. Give me Daredevil from the TV show, and give me Tom Jane's Punisher, and let's do like a and then Wesley Snipes' Blade, and let's do like a Kingpin, but a couple other superheroes get involved type of story. I'd like to see not an end of the world problem, but like something that really will impact society. Like, I don't know, some bad drug gets out there. Maybe there's something laced in the something that the Kingpin's spreading, and even he doesn't know. And so all the heroes team up. I don't know, just something like that. I don't want to see some kind of ancient talisman that Hammerhead and Silvermane pull out of the fucking museum and then create like a time warp and start to have reality bend in on itself. Like, no more reality game-changing doomsday crap. Can we just have a Spider-Man movie and all these guys team up where they save the day and you're just like, wow, that was epic. Can you believe shit like that happens in New York? Yeah, it does every day. And just kind of be tongue-in-cheek about it. Doesn't have to be, much.
For y'all, it might have been the most crazy day of your life. But for me, it was a Tuesday.
Oh. M. Bison, you bastard. I'm going to be right back because I desperately need water.
No worries.
Talk amongst yourselves about your team.
Okay. So I think that Xavier God has a lot of bad takes pretty regularly, but this one's pretty good. I understand Jeff's point about maybe not having Deadpool as part of that same team if you're already going to have Spidey. I can agree with that. I would probably swap out. No, not probably. I'd swap out Toby for Andrew. I'd get rid of Deadpool and insert Cap, Chris Evans Cap. I'm fine with not having like a god level character like Thor. So I don't really have any other changes here because Jackman's the only Wolverine. Norton's the only intelligent choice for Hulk because we all know that freaking Wonder Bread Ruffalo is useless. But I feel like here's the thing. Andrew's a far more talented actor and his Spider-Man was far more quippy. So I think he would play off of characters like RDJ's Iron Man and have that like contrast with him and Wolverine far better.
Yeah, I can see that because Andrew had more of the attitude in his voice needed for a Spider-Man. Like that's the one thing Tobey Maguire does not have a masculine voice for a person of his height and age.
The issue I took with Tobey, because to be clear, everyone knows I actually do love Tobey. Those first two movies are incredible. However, there wasn't enough of a delineation between him in the suit and him out of the suit. Like, yes, he made a few quips, but attitude-wise, there wasn't enough of a difference. And at least for me, I want there to be a bit more of a stark contrast because that contrast, that internal flip that he does that externally presents itself as super confident, super, quippy and almost antagonistic, right, towards his enemies. That's on purpose. That's deliberate. That keeps his head in the game. It keeps his enemies on the back foot. And it also prevents him from giving into the violence. It's incredibly important. Like that's an incredibly important aspect of the character of Spider-Man. And for me, as much as I love those first two movies, like I love Tobey as Peter. I don't dislike his Spidey, but I don't love his Spidey. And now this is the moment where I get all the hate in the chat, and that's fine. It's okay. Guys,
okay.
Millions of people have incorrect opinions every single day. I won't judge y'all for being among them.
No, I mean, I think, listen, Tom Holland would be a good Spider-Man if we could see him actually be Spider-Man.
Yeah.
In that. So
we did a brief glimpse in Civil War.
Yeah, so that's why I'm going to put him aside. And I'm with you on Andrew Garfield as the better one. He just needs a better costume. I mean, that's the other part too. They gave him kind of 2 weak costume designs.
I disagree with that entirely.
I think the first one was horrible.
The first one was deliberate and I like it. But the second one is my favorite live action Spidey costume, like by far.
But no, I think Andrew Garfield Spider-Man good, RDJ Iron Man easy. I wouldn't bring in Wolverine because first of all, there's only been Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman, good actor. He owned the character for what it was, but he doesn't look like Wolverine at all. He's like a good 1.5 feet too tall.
Yeah, that's true. He's a little too handsome in terms of what Wolverine should look like.
He smells nice, and Wolverine is actually supposed to be the opposite of that. You're supposed to be like, I think I got to hold my nose around you. Yeah. Norton's Hulk is a great one. Chris Evans, of course, Captain America would be fantastic. And that's kind of all you really need. I mean, because there's not much out there. I mean, okay, it's kind of they don't really have, like, there's not really any other contemporary actors right now that I could see doing contributing to an Avengers or any type of dream team up film that I'd want to see, because I do like Anthony Mackie as Sam Wilson being the Falcon, and that's the Falcon.
I loved him as the Falcon, and I would have loved a well-written like Falcon and Winter Soldier buddy cop show.
Do you know who that
was the actual focus.
You know who I'd bring in to do Black Widow that's not Scarlett Johansson, and she's actually already played Black Widow as a voice actress? That's Lake Bell, because Lake Bell actually, she's taller, she's curvier, she's sexier, but she's also, like, I think 8 years older than ScarJo. But like in the sweet spot, she would have been fantastic for Black Widow.
I could see that.
Because listen, Scarlett Johansson, very pretty face. She's done enough nudity where you look at her body and be like, yeah, that's all costume. I'm sorry, man. like it is all costume. With Lake Bell, it's all her, and that's kind of what you want. You want the authenticity for that, and she does. I mean, I don't know how much today, because again, she's in her mid to late 40s, but in her prime, she had the body of a Greek goddess. So. I mean, that's kind of what you want when you're dealing with your superheroes. You want them to look like Greek super beings, Greek gods, demigods.
You want them to look aspirational.
Yes. So yeah, throw that in there. It would be funny. Sydney Sweeney as Mockingbird would probably be okay, because she's blonde. She could pull off that costume.
I just think about the costume. That's all. That's why I was giving that weird face. I thought Black Canary, and I'm like, Black Canary, yeah. And then I was like,
oh, she'd be perfect as Black Canary, because she's the right size, like not just in height wise, but also silhouette wise too.
It should make a good Dinah.
Yeah, but that's another comic franchise. This is our Marvel Dream Team. So. I mean, I know a lot of people are like, oh, Black Cat. She's too short for Black Cat. Black Cat's got to be like a 5'8", 5'10".
Yeah.
Is Sydney Sweeney that tiny?
She's 5'6".
Oh.
Okay. So she's not super, super short.
No, she's slightly above average women height in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm almost a foot taller than her. Cool. Anyway.
Yeah. I'm a good half foot taller than her. But yeah, like I'd probably go in that area there. Snipes' Blade is good, but oh crap, who's that other? There's another actor out there, a younger guy. He's like 28, who'd be a great Blade, but he's never played him before, and I can't remember his name, but it'll come to me later in the night. I know it.
I'm telling you, that Blade movie is never going to come out from Marvel.
Not in the shape
at this point,
it is.
No,
yeah,
not a chance.
I was listening to a really well thought out video on the subject matter, and I also think it's too late for this guy to play Blade. I think it's going to be like a Marvel Universe reset before you get like a Blade movie, because he doesn't really fit in. I know he's in the Eternals for a second, but I would guess that they'll just Wesley Snipes it up for a quick couple of bucks, because this franchise is still choking on fumes. Like, I guarantee we're all going to like this movie, and we're all going to have a good time laughing at it.
Yeah.
But we're all going to go like, yeah, it was really funny. But how's the story? It was really funny. And that's
exactly. I feel like that's probably going to be the general consensus. Like, it was fun.
And that's what you want. Like, what do you expect? Like, oh, it was thought-provoking and intellectual. It's like, this is Deadpool, okay? Like, we want what we want. Deadpool.
And at this point with the MCU as well, like, if we can at least just get back to consistent, like, fun. Like, okay, the story, fairly surface level, but nothing egregious, nothing offensive, just fun. right? I went in there, I spent my $20 or $18 or whatever, came out of the theater. That was a good time. I did not waste my money, right? If we can at least get back to that consistently, that'd be a great leap forward.
Yep.
Because right now, that is not where we're at.
Yep. And you know what? You're never going to see the MCU rebooted because they cannot admit failure, having done over 34 movies so far.
Yeah.
It's just going to ride it out, and they're just going to acknowledge, not so gracefully or not so and extremely subtly. Oh yeah, phase 4 and 5, they're just the lost years, so to speak.
Those are the redheaded stepchildren, even though we don't believe in redheads here at Disney.
We're just going to not talk about them. We're going to keep going because, again, 15 years or 16 years, sorry, 16 years, 35 movies. They've cemented themselves in cinematic history already. And the best way to increase that foundation, to increase that distance in the race of movie franchises, is to not stop, even in the face of failure. Yeah. So the MCU will end when the MCU decides it to end, and whoever holds the rights to reboot it will reboot it probably almost immediately afterwards. Because again, take a look at Spider-Man. You had 3 reboots of the character within a decade. Why? Well, because Spider-Man is a very valuable IP, and when you have a valuable IP, you don't give it a rest. Sorry, you just don't. It's like, every year you're not releasing a Spider-Man product or making money off of a Spider-Man product is considered a net loss.
Yeah.
So you have to make a movie, and you can't do that with any franchise. Like all the stuff out there of IPs you probably know but have forgotten about. Guess what? There's been people for decades trying to get that movie made because it can be a moneymaker for them. And the reason it hasn't been is either people fall out, deals are hard to come by, money's difficult to come by for it, or they just couldn't put stuff together in enough time in order to get it done. That's really the only reason. It's not, we're just going to sit on this IP for a bit and let it cool down and then bring it back. It's like, no, we spent a lot of money to get the rights to do this for film. We better make something, or else we just basically set that money on fire.
The studios are also pretty averse to diverting away from, what is the current trend these days. It seems like they haven't, like, we're kind of sort of getting away from the superhero stuff, not like dramatically, but it's not like it was, 4 or 5 years ago in terms of the quantity and the frequency. It's not at that level. Unfortunately, it's also not at the quality. That's the big kicker. I'd be fine with, having 2-3 films come out a year in terms of Marvel or in terms of DC. If they were all good, you would get no complaints from me.
Yeah, well, right? It's easier said than done, man. Like,
sure. Right? Of course. I'm not trying to claim that that's an easy feat by any means, but I think it's good and healthy for the movie industry as a whole to have like kind of a swinging of the pendulum in terms of like, okay, so comic book adaptations were like on the upswing for a while. Now we're starting to see them swing back, not too great in terms of quality, in terms of the frequency, all of that. And we're seeing quality films of other genres now, right? Like Godzilla films have been doing consistently really well. We're seeing a return to some like fun disaster flicks from what I'm hearing about Twisters from a lot of people. And that was a movie that when the trailer initially came out and when the announcement was made, everyone, including us on this show, were like, nobody asked for this. But you know what? Sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes people can surprise you. And it seems like this was a happy surprise for people. And I'm glad to hear that. Like after seeing a couple more of the trailers, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to see it. And then you said it was a lot of fun. A lot of other people I know and trust have said it was a lot of fun. I'm like, man, I gotta get my ass over to the theater so I can watch this.
Well, that's to your point, man. Movie making is not like the food industry. You go to a restaurant because they have a menu and you get to select and make what you want. It's a make to order type of thing. A movie is not like that. It's basically, hey, we think this is good. We're throwing it out there. We're hoping you like it. And if you do, we will make more. And if you don't, well, then we don't make those again. That's basically it. You as a
that's customer, the way it's supposed to work. In the movie industry,
you as a customer, do not have control over what is made. You only have control over what you buy, what you see. And that is why, to do a side pivot, the AI revolution, air quotes, revolution for movie making is going to fail, because now you will be able to make your own movie and you'll probably show it to other people and you'll get blasted on the internet for it, because it's not about whether or not you're good. It's about the fact that making a movie is not as easy as just having the equipment to do it. And then you're going to learn the hard way. I mean, take a look at all the fan films out there. Take even a look at the independent stuff out there on the YouTube circuit alone. All of those, most of those things are actually ratioed to hell if they end up getting a lot of views. Yeah. Because, sorry, just having the equipment doesn't make you a filmmaker. And the ones that do make it well and actually are able to get trend and stuff, they have something else going on there that, the others don't. And that's why, I mean, you have those two kids that they made some YouTube videos that did really well. They ended up doing a horror film just last year, but they got their dues paid by making stuff on YouTube, but also learning from that and figuring out what it takes to actually make something that people will respond to and engage with in the way that they're hoping that they engage with. So they're finding a synchronicity with the audience. That takes a lot of work, and it's not an easy feat to achieve.
No, in many ways you have to, in many ways, for a movie to really, really catch on, going back to the terminology I used before with the window of the MCU's first three phases, but I guess that can really apply to any movie, any singular film that just catches on really hot with the audience. That's catching lightning in a bottle. Like there's an incredible amount of hard work involved with that, but there's also an incredible amount of luck.
Oh yeah, it comes down to timing. I mean, heck, you take a look at the first 5 years of 1980s. There's a lot of movies that came out in those 5 years that are phenomenal, but they went up against each other in fierce competition, and some underperformed compared to others. Yet you get your general audiences to watch both those films; they'll all say they're equally great. Yeah, and it's just that's the way it is. I mean, one of the reasons that we've got an issue with our current film industry is the fact that we have an oversaturation. We're making a lot more movies, but the metric has not changed. It's still 90% of the movies that are made are garbage, 10% are great. But compared to, say, 200 movies a year normally being released on a normal schedule to what we're getting now, which is like 300 to 400 movies a year, it seems like it's way more than 90% are crap. You're just seeing more of that 90% than you are. The metric hasn't really changed.
Well, I think an important point that's also missing here is that we're also not seeing, and you're the one that brought this up before, which is you have to, there's that give and take with your audience in terms of like, okay, so like we're putting this out here, hoping you guys enjoy it. If you do, we'll make more. If you don't, we won't. We're not seeing that right now. We're not seeing that that reciprocity.
Yeah.
We're not seeing the actual proper business response to that. We're seeing instead, unfortunately, films that do horribly, and then they're like, okay, we're going to make 5 more. Why would you do that? Like that's the like what script said is the correct way that's supposed to function. What is happening right now is not what script said, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, it's primarily Marvel that did that.
Yeah.
I mean, you take a look at, say, okay, you have Terminator Dark Fate, and then previous to that, you had Terminator Genesis. Well, they didn't repeat but the mistakes they made in Terminator Genesis in Dark Fate. They made new mistakes in Dark Fate. Both sucked, but guess what? We don't have another Terminator on the rise coming around of them saying we're going to double down, right?
Not anytime soon, that's for
Sony
sure.
with Ghostbusters 2016, they did not make a sequel to that. Instead, they went back to the original cast and producers and made Ghostbusters Afterlife. So you've got
which
that
did
there.
very well and people enjoyed. Yeah, and that's why they then did Frozen Empire.
Exactly. Warner Brothers, the only thing that they were hung up on is the fact that for some strange reason they kept on going into that theme with Zack Snyder's DC films.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it took them literally 2.5 movies to realize Zack Snyder's not the guy. They booted him out. They replaced him with Joss Whedon. Justice League did what it did. And then they tried to carry on. They tried to commit to that tone and that style, but at the same time deviate a little bit because Aquaman is a far more pleasant film
The second one,
anything
the second one isn't good, but the first one is a fun movie.
Yes, and the second one is them, gasping for air at that point. And then the stuff they were doing with the Blue Beetle and the Shazams, like they were just trying to hold on to what they have. That was like salvage mode, I'd call it, where they're like, yes, we know this is not the direction, but we kind of want to hold on to the investment we have. So we're going to do it as best we can to ease us into this new phase of DC without throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Until Zaslav looked at us like, dude, you got to throw out this baby with the bathwater because the baby drowned.
that baby is out of there, man. We're pulling Eric Clapton.
Limburg baby has a better shot of turning up than that one in this thing here. So yeah, those are the instances, because again, like, try and find other franchises, try and find other studios, literally like between 2016 and now, that kept on.
No, you're right. It's primarily
that
Disney that just double, triples, and quadruples and quintuples down.
Yes, it's only been Disney. And the reason that they dominate the airspace is because up until that point, they were the studio that was making the most money.
Yeah.
So like, it just feels like, oh, they're all Hollywood. But I have to keep on reminding you, Disney was actually considered for the longest time the runt in Hollywood. It wasn't a top 5 studio. It was literally a tourist trap that had a film and television division to advertise their tourist trap, which is an outdoor mall you have to pay to get into. Yeah. Which that is a scam.
It's quite,
I don't care.
It's quite the scheme.
The Magic Kingdom is the magical way that all your money leaves your wallet and you get nothing really out of it other than
in a single weekend
experience.
Yeah.
It's like,
and sore feet.
You know, I can experience with my girlfriend twice a night, every day this week. I don't need to pay for that. Okay. You want to spend thousands of dollars to go to Florida or California to walk around in Harry Potter world? Have at it. But guess what? It's not. You could find other places to spend your money, and you could get lost in the books far better than you could in the actual, facade world that, a theme park made. Those are my thoughts on it. So
I don't like theme parks that much. I like amusement parks with roller coasters and, thrill rides. Disney always looks I've been there, and it was kind of lame. So I never wanted to go back. The Disney characters were always a lot softer. This is before they started buying up every character. It was like, hey, you can see Mickey Mouse. And it's like, all right, there's Mickey Mouse. Cool.
Yeah.
It's a dude in a stuffed animal costume.
Yeah.
This is the precursor to furries.
Cool. Oh, gosh.
I mean, listen, I went in 92. I had more fun at the hotel and the pool and heading over to like museums outside of Orlando and outside of Universal than I did in the actual parks. And my parents were kind of not surprised to this, because the only reason we went down there is because my parents were on the fence of like, well, all the other kids are into Disney stuff. He's not. Maybe we'll get him to, maybe we'll just experience him, see if he actually likes it. And then I didn't. And they're like, okay, we're never doing that again. And we never did. And I've been happier for it. But like roller coasters, man, I've been to Busch Gardens, I've been to Wonderlands, I've been to tons of parks. I've been on roller coasters. I've been on those things where they slingshot you around. Like, that's fun. Because it's like, you'll never be able to replicate that outside of your life unless you want to get arrested. So might as well go to an actual, like, roller coaster park and get whipped around in fun ways. Yeah. And you know what? Those things are way cheaper. You don't have to save up, 3 weeks vacation, 3 weeks pay, or for like, a ticket for 2 for a weekend in another state. You can
not counting food,
not counting food. And passes and fast passes and all those things, and getting their spyware downloaded onto your phone app so you can actually be alerted when you can go start to wait in line. It's like, nah.
I don't get how that works. Like, I was a Universal guy out west. We had the app, and it was just like, oh, there's no wait time at the Mummy. That was about all it was. There was, if you had the fast app, or if you were a platinum, every day at 3:00, you could head to the front of the line no matter what. And Universal really isn't like poor man's Disney. It's just different type of stuff. And it was fun to go to, and it wasn't that expensive. You spend like $20 on concessions, and your pass is $50 a month. And if you go once a month, it's kind of worth it. So I liked it. I thought it was a really fun place to be.
Well, one of the aspects of Universal Studios is that they have a screening room, so you can actually go watch stuff there as well. Like, you can treat it as a movie theater. And then if you know your way around, you can actually get onto the lot and probably walk in on a set. They'll be pissed at you, but you get to see production. Um,
You're just like, oh, okay. I just saw the voice get filmed. Woohoo! No, that was always filming when we would go during the tram tour. It's like, and here's the voice. They're currently filming that. It's like, all right, and it was never exciting. I don't think anybody
I
cared.
can't remember. Yeah, I remember when American Idol really started taking off, and you'd end up having. Sometimes I'd actually when I'd be working through some of the studios, I'd take the tour tram just to get across a lot faster instead of walking. And I can't remember. I think it was one of the ones with I think it was at the Fox lot. They were doing American Idol, and they kept on talking about it. If I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure it was Fox. And yeah, I took the tram, and all they were talking about was like American Idol. And it's like, hey, if you want, you can get tickets for the next week's taping at this time here. It's free, blah, 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 sign up. And that's when I had to stop taking because the tour guide started recognizing me. He's like, you're always on this tour. It's like, yeah, I kind of work here. I'm just taking it to hop onto this.
Nice.
We're not a taxi service. I'm like, you kind of are. And I wasn't the only one. There's a bunch of other. There's like some PAs and some other assistants and executive assistants that would do it too. So it was fun. But yeah, I remember American Idol constantly because that was kind of keeping studios afloat. That contest related reality TV. Ugh. And now
Never
it's like
been my
America
cup of
Got
tea.
Talent. Yeah. Have I ever been to where? Sorry.
Oh, I just said it has never been my cup of tea.
Yeah. No.
Competition-based reality TV. The Fox game shows nowadays are so weird. It's like I watched this one called The 1%, and then there's like, don't miss the lyrics, don't do this. It's like Fox is just the game show network now because I guess it's cheap to produce and
super cheap. You know what? The only one I actually really liked because it was ridiculous was American Gladiators.
I remember that
Laser
show.
and Taser and Michelle.
Laser, Taser, like it was not only that. I mean, the original one from like the 80s and that went into the 90s was hysterical and fun. Then when they brought it back with Hulk Hogan and Muhammad Ali's daughter, that was fun too. But also they got female bodybuilders, but some of them were like supermodel bodybuilders too. Like they were muscular, but they looked like Marvel superheroes or something. Phoenix looked like she could play She-Hulk if you painted her in green because she was tall and she had literally the John Byrne proportions. It was like, wow, that's She-Hulk there. Gina Carano was one of the was Crush on that show.
Oh, yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, and that was, and even one of the contestants ended up becoming one of the gladiators because she was really good. Like that was kind of like crazy time. That was like proper reality TV because it's like it's not about the person trying to get one up over on the other one through like mind games like Survivor, and it's not about like talent and entertainment side of things. It's like it's a talent and athleticism. So it's like, oh, if you want to be in shape and do stuff, here's American Gladiators, and you can kind of compete. And it had a little bit of an aspirational aspect to it. It's like, yeah, if you're a kid and you think this is fun playing on this kind of like jungle gym on television, start working out, eat right, and maybe you can compete and meet Hulk Hogan.
Just what every kid wanted in the 90s. I want to meet Hulk Hogan.
What you gonna do?
I have way too many Hulk Hogan action figures, like 5. Xavier God, thank you very much for this one. He says, saw Alien and Romulus trailer. Did not get me interested at all. Like, at least not to see it in theaters. Also, fuck, marry, kill, French toast, waffles, and pancakes.
Whew. Actually, those are very interchangeable because, they're all great. I mean, waffles and pancakes are the same batter. So,
yeah. Probably F pancakes, marry French toast, kill waffles. But like to Scrip's point, like the pancakes and waffles are more or less the same.
Yeah. I mean, the only advantage waffle really has is that you can actually keep the syrup in the pockets of the waffle, where pancakes, it kind of either absorbs or just runs off unless you get some butter in there.
But the thing I like, and this is where I'm having the dilemma, like these are made any way I want them. I always like my pancakes cooked in real butter, so you get that nice crispy edge.
Yeah.
I put salted butter in there, and you get that like nice balance with the butter and the salt, and then the syrup. It's like a nice salty sweet blend for me. So That's the one I can't get rid of, but I also really like waffles. Like, they're great, man. Especially Eggo. Make a stack of Eggo waffles.
Ooh,
Mhm.
dude.
Oh,
I
they're-
ate dinner literally right before the show, and now I'm feeling hungry again. Stop it.
What flavor Eggos did you like? I like the thick and fluffy
Blueberry.
cinnamon or the blueberry.
Yep, blueberry and the
Blueberry.
cinnamon.
Yeah, dude, those
Those are the
best.
two.
Like original's fine. I would never be disappointed. Every once in a while, the strawberry, those would be a nice surprise.
Yeah.
We had the best breakfast, like frozen food shit in the 90s. Like
We really did.
all the novelty foods were great. Like you would get them and they were actually as good as they would look on TV. And then some of them you would stick with until they just stopped making them. There were so many things that were just like, no more.
Toaster strudels.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
Toaster
I also
strudel. I'm surprised I didn't grow up a freaking fat kid because I ate those like crazy.
Which flavor? Strawberry?
Strawberry.
Strawberry and apple were great. What I also miss is cereal boxes were bigger, and I'm not talking just because I was tinier. They were physically, legitimately bigger boxes with more cereal in them when we were kids.
I just heard a guy say this, but he was talking about cereal boxes in the 70s, and we're talking about the ones in the 90s where it's like, I'm sure they were slightly smaller than his, but I hear that all the time. Yeah, it's like you got like 2.5 bowls of cereal out of a box of cereal. Like I bought Cinnamon Life the other day. Love Cinnamon Life.
Mhm.
But it's like, oh, I'm going to have a snack, or here's my late breakfast. Boom, there goes a bowl, like a box, like it's nothing.
Yeah, if you take a look at, say, like this, the grocery store has the jumbos. The jumbo, that's the normal size. That's what it was normally. They'd be getting at the regular price.
Yeah, they started to rebrand the sizes. It's like, wait just a daggone minute here.
Yeah, like, oh man, I do hate the downscaling of the portions for a lot of the food.
Here's the party size. That's gonna last me 2 days. Like,
Yeah.
party? What party?
Don't make me feel bad about my consumption of bacon. No, yeah, don't. I have strong food opinions, but it's so funny to like watch these old food ads or see these things. Like I saw an ad for a pizza for $12.99. I was like, wow, that's a great deal. I'd love to get a pizza for $12.99. It was from like one of these restaurants that are now like 20-something bucks. I'm like,
Yeah.
geez. And in no way am I
Now you can barely get a Red Baron for $12.99.
Dude, sometimes those frozen ones are the best deal. It's like, look, you take
They're like a single sitting meal.
You take
You
like
think-
the Delicios 2 for $10 deals, like because you
yeah,
got
then
it.
you doctor them up with some extra cheese, some better toppings. You kind of work the crust a little, and then you're like, this is okay. It's pizza, and it's always good to have pizza. So, sorry, my mouth was dry. I meant to say it's always good to have pizza. Yeah, so
I agree with that. I agree. I could go for some pizza. I could just go for more food right now. I had a big dinner too. What the hell?
we have an Xavier the God food related question again. Fuck, marry, kill: cinnamon buns, cake, and pie.
This is too easy. This is too
Ooh.
easy. This is way too easy.
I'm more into pie and cinnamon buns than cakes.
F cinnamon buns, marry pie, kill cake.
Yeah.
Too easy. I didn't even have to think about it.
You mean the
I
literal
love pie.
You mean the literal food cake, right? Not the other kind, because that's
Yes.
That's
No, that's different. That
Okay,
that would
that-
actually get swapped out with the F, I believe.
It's got to get married. You want that? See, I don't ever think of cinnamon buns, but then when I have them, they're the best thing. So I got to marry those. Those are like, come on, like a Cinnabon, like a fresh one, like all the sugar you need for a week. Like, it's great, and you're like, it's buttery. You watch them make it, and you're just like, yeah, that one's mine right there. I'm making myself hungry. Shit. I gotta stop. And then I'm gonna kill cake because I like it, but I don't really love it. There's so many different pie varieties. Like the cakes, after a while, it's kind of like, oh, but this is chocolate with raspberry compote in it. You're like, all right, but it's only slightly different from a chocolate cake. Pumpkin pie and key lime pie, they're nothing alike. Oh, cherry pie is nothing like a plum pie.
Yeah, key lime pie isn't real pie.
Yeah. Wait, what? How dare you?
Key lime is a lie.
I've eaten it. It's real. It's there.
It's
Not
a lie.
but you know, it was.
It's not real pie. It's fake. It's fake news.
Are you saying lemon meringue is fake pie? Because I will
Yep.
fight you on that one too.
Yep. Yes, it is.
What makes it fake?
It's this. It's just gross, and it has no consistency resembling all the other pies.
Yeah, it does.
Sure, it does. It looks like pumpkin pie, but different color.
It's gross.
And pumpkin pie is delicious.
Pumpkin
Yeah,
pie is incredible.
It's dangerously addictive in some cases too.
I'm an
I've
apple
eaten
pie
the
guy.
pumpkin pie.
Oh, I love apple pie too.
Apple pie. I'm American. Cherry
I
pie is good as well.
Those are the two I can. They're lower on the totem pole, but they're above blueberry pie. But I do like blueberry pie.
I like blueberry pie. I'll have peach pie or apricot pie, but I prefer those as cobbler. Don't ask me why, because it's essentially the same shit. Just one's on a freaking baking sheet instead.
Peach cobbler is the best dessert.
It's pretty damn good.
That's the one I can't turn down. I had a girlfriend's sister say, "Hey, I want to make you a dessert. What do you want? Anything?" I'm like, I was like, wait, I don't know. And then I remembered I like peach cobbler.
Yeah.
And I got so excited for it.
It's just
something I don't
advantage of that, I hope.
Well, I ate the whole thing myself, and I don't regret it. But I was, my mom made it, but then there were like years and years where I never had it, and now it's like a 2 or 3 time a year thing, and I'm always like, yes, it's time for peach cobbler. I wish we had some right now.
I wish I had an apple pie right now.
I wish I had a pumpkin pie right now.
Yeah,
just talking about this has become a food show.
The people are here for it. We're getting super chats about food, so there you go.
I mean, I'm not complaining.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get
Apart
things
from
rolling at
wanting
a
to.
higher. The thing is, what we'll do is in the future we'll get the numbers up across the board, and then I'll be like, "All right, guys, well we made so much of super chats. Let's order the food you told us to order."
Right? Exactly.
I'll have it sent to you, and
I was gonna say, like, have the chat just like super chat us the money for the food.
yeah, it's like, what do you guys want? Wings? Yeah, wings sound good.
Some wings, yeah.
Teriyaki wings. with
Oh, there's a
sushi.
place in Toronto that makes great wings. They're big wings too.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you
Not
feel
like those
about?
cheapy little Buffalo Wild
No,
Wings
these
ones
things
that
are
got,
like
no
this.
meat on them.
No, they're like the size of your fist.
Oh, there we go.
I think that's a bat wing. If it's the size of my fist, this is a bat wing. Chicken of the cave. I ain't eating that.
Chicken of the cave, chicken of the cave, chicken of the sea.
That's
No.
tuna, bro.
A lot of chicken
I
wings are
know.
actually like baby chicks. Like they're tiny in most places. But you got to get one where it's like, oh, you know when you buy like chicken legs, that's kind of where you got it for like a drumstick and a wing and that size, like full grown chicken. That's why I like that place.
Are you guys? How do you feel about boneless wings? Are they just big chicken nuggets?
I think they are just big chicken.
They
nuggets.
are mostly just big chicken nuggets, but I'll eat them like they're put in front of me. It's like, hey, do you guys have wings? Yeah, they're boneless. Okay. Like, I've never been particularly picky about food with very rare exceptions. So like that's not one of those things that I make a big stink about. I prefer it like on the bone, but like I'm fine with boneless wings. If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat it regardless.
Oh yeah, if somebody's like, "Hey, let's get some boneless wings," I'm gonna say yes every time. When I went down to LibertyCon, the guy's like, "Let's order wings," but he got traditional, which was extra points in my book. And they brought us out just a tray of wings. Like he's like, "Eat as many as you can," and so we finished them, and they were great.
Challenge accepted.
But I'll tell you, if it was like eat as many boneless wings as you can, all that breading would deter me. I'd go, maybe a couple. At least one of each flavor, maybe 2 of each flavor, and then I'm tapping out. That's the dilemma of the chicken wing, folks. I'm glad we solved that crisis here on World Class Bullshitters. Xavier to God, thank you very much. Could Spider-Man or Marvel movies work like James Bond franchise, where it's the same character, just different actors? Same with DC as well. I say yes. That's what
It's
it should
already
be.
worked. We've seen it with Batman. We've had multiple actors play Batman. 3 different actors play Batman in the same continuity.
And we didn't care. It was okay.
It worked. Sure, declining box office, but that was not so much the actor. That's Akiva Goldsman.
Yeah, that movie is still trash. Like when people are trying to tell me you should really watch it again. No, It was enough in 97. I watched it again on tape in 98 and never again. Well, I've seen it since and I hate it. It's like Dion puts it on to troll me. I'm down with Batman Forever, but not Batman and Robin.
Yeah, well, Batman Forever, Akiva Goldsman only did a rewrite polish to steal credit. The original screenplay, it wasn't Edward Nygma. I think it was it was still the Riddler, but they didn't use Edward Nygma as the name. And it's pretty much the exact same story, slightly reordered. I think the often trying to trend Schumacher cut of Batman Forever is more to the original screenplay. But yeah, Akiva Goldsman, he got in there, he changed the names, got a principal credit on it, and then he parlayed that along with his Beautiful Mind Oscar to get Batman and Robin for himself. And you got to see what he did with that. And then he parlayed that again with Warner Brothers to do Titans straight to streaming series.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that show.
I try to forget about that show. I didn't even watch it
because it's really bad. And then he abandoned that when he got fired from that one, and that show was canceled. He then went on to do Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. So yeah, he's just leapfrogging away from studios when they start, because again, we're actually in a weird age where studios and executives and the industry is like fed up with the amount of accolade failure with people with accolades that they're just like, you know what, we don't even care anymore. Like J.J. Abrams, he can't get a directing or producing gig in town these days. He's already
That's
closed.
Nothing about you was lost, man.
Alex Kurtzman is stuck at Paramount and CBS because no one else will take him. And yeah, Akiva Goldsman, he is clinging on with Alex Kurtzman right now, riding his coattails. And so if any of those two guys ever, well, if Kurtzman ever loses his contract with Paramount, which is unlikely, but if he does at Secret Hideout, him and Kurtzman him and Goldsman are probably not going to be working for quite a while after that. Not in anything that's big. And Lindelof is actually, you know, he's trying to hang on to things right now. He's struggling.
Let me shed that one tear and play my violin for this man, Damon. This bud's for you.
Yeah, I mean, he's only got, I think, yeah, he's working, quote unquote, with James Gunn on the Lantern series, but there hasn't been any movement on that yet. It's still in pre-production, which means they haven't even secured a filming date or commitment to it yet. And I think the only thing he did that got how do I want to put it? The only thing he did that kind of got any attention, and for all the wrong reasons, was the movie called The Hunt, which is basically supposed to be a far right wing.
Oh, with Betty Gilpin?
Yeah.
I remember that one. It like disappeared and then it got released on streaming, I think, or something along those lines. Or maybe it got a theatrical release.
Yeah. And Betty Gilpin, she kind of came and went.
Oh yeah, that was quick. Glow, a few movies, and then that's it. I liked her.
Yeah, I think it's because she had what was called the Christina Hendricks effect. So Christina Hendricks is gorgeous, right? But she's also got a big set of boobs that are a bit too big for her body.
Are they too big or just awesome?
I mean, they're awesome, but when it comes
I'm sorry, there are certain things we can't say on this channel, man. Okay,
there are certain aspects when it comes to film and lenses where you need a certain set of balance between shoulder, breasts, waist, and hips, and there's a threshold there, and I think Christina Hendricks is right on the edge of that, and Betty Gilpin was also in the same thing where her waist was a bit too wide for her hips and chest, so it was not the hourglass you need for that, because again, bodies are making a comeback in Hollywood right now because that's what actually gets people to watch. I mean, that's your poster right there. If you got a girl that looks great, you don't need a body double or much Photoshop to enhance their appearance on the movie poster, especially in the regular, and then doing the press junket. For a woman, that's what you kind of need, because that's what people want to see. Women want to see beautiful women on screen. Men want to see beautiful women on screen. And when you get these anorexics that we've had for the last 10 years or so on television shows and in feature films, doing either masculine-ish roles or anti-feminine roles, it hurts at the box office. So now you got to start going for, women with bodies. The old TWT, as the casting directors say, tits with talent. Yeah,
That's like a band. That should
That does sound like a band.
NWA, but different.
Or like
it is.
like
Well, the other
freaking
part
dance
too is
group
they
or
also
something.
had. I mean, in the late '90s, the term was tits without talent, which is like you see in Andy Sedaris movies, which is like you just see supermodels, bring in supermodels, get them in there to get in there, and it's like, well, they're able to hold them visually, but when they don't have their clothes off, people have checked out of the movie and they don't want to. They're just fast forwarding through it, or they're not going to the theaters for it. So that's where they're like, well, okay, we need brains and beauty in that sense. And what's funny is, like, I've met a number of actors that were the former and not the tits with talent. Like, they had great bodies, but trying to get them to act, trying to get them to do anything is like herding cats. It's really hard. It's frustrating as hell, to the point where you're just like, just stand in the back, like you're background now, and don't do anything.
Our friend Jack White sends in a very generous super chat. Jack says, I'm back with some new series recommendations. Wisteria Wand and Sword, Our Last Crusade, or The Rise of the New World. Why does nobody remember me in this world? Mission Yakuzura Family. Well, let's get that picture, Jack. Because right now I am watching Jujutsu Kaisen. Yeah, right?
Jujutsu Kaisen?
Yeah, there you go. That's what I'm watching. I like it. I got to get deeper into it. I think I'm 6 episodes in, but I'm digging it. So, Jack, I will continue to watch anime. I'm having fun with it. It's a nice break from... look, I watch King of the Hill a lot. I don't need a break from that show. I just wish I had a way to randomize it on social or Hulu, because that way I could not have to know what's on next. If I could randomize, that's what they need to have on all these things, randomized, because I would watch shows for way too long. I'm like, I wonder what My Name is Earl is going to pop up next. Come on, that was a great show. Great characters. They were quirky. They had heart. The cameos were amazing. You had Burt Reynolds show up. Burt Reynolds did show up on that show, as well as Norm Macdonald.
And the gimmick is great. It's like, you got to make up for all the bad things you did in your life. It's like, that's cool. Because you can go as long as you need to.
My name is Earl.
Yeah. Oh, My Name is Earl. I've been watching classic Columbo episodes recently, just because those are brilliant, and you don't get well-formed mysteries like that, because it's a mystery where you know how the murderer did it, and it's all about, are they able to stay steps ahead of Columbo as he gets closer and closer to solving it, and battle of wits and questions and experience. Oh, it's just magnifique. Chef's kiss.
And Peter Falk is amazing.
Oh gosh, yeah. You don't find actors like him anymore.
No, I always think of him in The Great Muppet Caper. It was such a weird scene where he pops up in the middle of that movie.
Have you seen The In-Laws? It's Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. Peter Falk is a spy, and his daughter his son is marrying Alan Arkin's daughter. And they remade it with Albert Brooks and Michael Douglas, but don't look at the remake. Go watch the original one. And it's fantastic. It's the invention of have you ever heard the meme serpentine, when you're running away from gunfire? Serpentine. That's where it came from.
Huh.
I strongly advise you watching that one. That's a
yeah.
good
I'm taking a screenshot of it right now. It's got a great cast,
and it's really fun, and it's it's Odd Couple with guns.
Well, you sold me. Taylor Swift, greater than Disney, Star Wars, and MCU member for 9 months. Thank you. It would be great if they made a low made a law saying Hollywood has to put out an original film for 25 years. What a beautiful fantasy. Only original films for 25 years, excuse me.
I'm opposed to giving government any more power over anything than they already have. As much
Agreed.
as that would be great in, you know, and I don't even know if I'd say an
Well, I mean,
idealistic
it's-
society, but I am for taking away power from government, not giving them more.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that unfortunately, in business mindset, original is higher risk than established IP. And I mean, Hollywood, the first movies that Hollywood were making were adaptations of plays and books
Mhm.
because that's how they were able to get, movement. When you find an original screenplay, such as like A Usual Suspects, those are few and far between, and the hits for them are also really difficult to do because, again, we live in an age now where modern marketing does not know how to sell an original idea when it's presented to them.
Mhm.
And it's risk because, again, even though the economy is much different than it was 60 years ago, you're still looking at the same value essentially. So where beforehand, $2-3 million movie for your tentpole film in the 60s was a lot of money. Today, that's a pittance, but it's now $120 million. So if you want to make an original movie, you've got to think budget conscious. It has to be, can it be done affordably? If so, who can you get in it to make it market worthy? On top of that, how can you land a distribution deal? Can you land? You need to have at least 2,000 theaters domestically in order to possibly see profit off of that. Trying to get a 4,000 theater run 4,000 theater run is really hard because those are reserved for your studio films. So yeah, there's lots of logistics to cover over there. And for Hollywood, they try to basically, hedge their bets. That's why they do 3 or 4 tentpole films a year, because that'll pay for all the other stuff you've never heard of, because they didn't either invest the marketing that they want, or they know that it's going to be a hard sell, so they might as well just kind of get it out there quietly with the lower press junket, and hopefully it takes off through word of mouth. So they're relying on you, the audience, to want to actually go to movie theaters and take a look at things. And unfortunately, the vast majority of Americans and Canadians aren't making enough money to have the disposable income to make the risk to go to the movie theater once a week to see, hey, what's up there? Let's see if we can find something different, new, exciting.
Yeah, especially if you're not going by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's see. A movie ticket's $18 roughly in most of these theaters,
depending on the screen. Yeah.
And then also the prestigious theaters with like the 4DX, the 3D, all the bells and whistles. That's all just to increase ticket prices. You don't have the fun. Oh, it's just a regular seat. You sit down movie theater these days, unless you go into the more rural areas.
Mm-hmm.
So, or the repertory theaters.
I just can't imagine trying to take a family of like 6 to go see Despicable. I know that's a lot of people, but let's say you have 4 kids. Like, that's a lot to go see Despicable Me. Even if you have 2 or 3 kids, it's going to be, what does a kid ticket? $10? And then popcorn's not cheap and all that other crap.
Yep.
Yeah. You might actually have to hope that one of your kids is like 3 years old and you can hide them in your sweater and get into the movie. They sit on your lap as you watch.
I know a guy that has that dilemma, but he also has this Plex server, and he's able to like find these movies within one weekend. So like Despicable Me 4 is on there. Inside Out 2 is on there. And he finds these Japanese rips. He's like, it's cheaper than going to the movie. And I'm like, well, I mean, sure. But I'm sure that's why piracy's up too, because you can't see these things for under $20 per person. And like we said, you talked about the 90%, 10% rule. That's too much of a gamble. I like in 2012, it was about, I think it was like $8 to $10 to go see a movie. It was a different gamble back then. It was fun. And I'd say
at most a little bit over an hour of work at your job could afford you 2 hours of entertainment that night. And that's a good trade-off. The irony that's happening with the piracy stuff, which I'm still against, is that piracy has led to more physical media purchases and streaming subscriptions, because you pirate the movie. If you like it, you then be like, oh, I kind of want to buy it or what have you, because the pirated version is never always of the higher quality or what have you.
Yeah.
And then if they have difficulty finding it on physical, they're like, well, where's the streaming service? Is it on my Netflix? Is it on whatever? And then they'll go towards that because they liked the movie. It's a weird form of advertising. It's one of the reasons why, even though the studios hate it, they have not gone full force trying to stop it because they know it's a losing battle. So they're just trying to angle it to whatever gimmick they can to generate income that way. Sometimes they'll release like a high definition, quote unquote, version of the film, but it's really just a slightly scaled down thing that they'll do deliberately just so people will be like, hey, maybe I'll go watch this in the theaters. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Post-pandemic, it doesn't work anymore, but pre-pandemic it did. A lot of people would watch the pirated stuff and go see it in theaters because they know it's a good movie, or they'd stop halfway through and go see it in movie theaters. I remember seeing the patron results for questions where people actually filled out little cards like, would you have pirated this movie before seeing it? And then some people actually checked out the box. I did. they didn't have their names on it, so they couldn't catch them for a crime. But it was funny going through those cards, and it's like, wow, a lot of these people said that.
That was Star Trek 09 for me. I saw it on a bootleg website. I was like, this is really good. I got to see this on the big screen. And I did, and I liked it. So there's Jeff's hot take again.
That is a hot take. I was not impressed with. I was impressed with some of the costumes and effects of 09, and I thought the cast had potential, but the story was like really dumb.
I'll have a hotter take. I like all three of them.
You lost me at Beyond.
I like that one the least, but I like all three of them. It's again one of those things where it's like I saw all three in IMAX with my dad, so I enjoyed the hell out of them with him. My dad grew up watching original Trek, and then I watched Next Generation with him and my mom growing up. So I haven't watched anything else that came after Next Gen. Like I'd seen the Next Gen films, but like I haven't seen like Discovery or Deep Space Nine or any of that. I don't even know what half of them are.
Deep Space Nine you should see because it's actually really good.
I've heard that. I just never been a gigantic Trek guy, so I just wound up. So like if somebody was going to tell me like, well, you're not really a Trek fan, and I'd be like, yeah, you're probably right. I'm not really a Trek fan. I enjoyed Next Generation, and I happen to
you
like
enjoyed the three movies from.
Yeah, I like the Calvin. I like the Calvin trilogy.
Not Trek fan. For a lot of Star Trek fans out there.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm not offended by that.
If it's got Captain Kirk in it, I will watch it. If it doesn't have Captain Kirk in it, I probably will laugh at it because I really do think the Next Generation is kind of hokey. It's like this weird utopia shit, and like the phasers look lame, and there's not as much action. The music is
the first season,
great, but there's no.
So the first season of Next Gen is more traditional Star Trek because it actually is exploring strange new worlds. The pilot though uses a synthesizer to do the music because it's 87. And that was a mistake, and they've learned that really quick because they never bring that synthesizer back for the rest of the series. Season 2 was them trying to get their footing, and then season 3 they're like, okay, screw the exploring strange new worlds and doing allegorical commentary on society and stuff. That's going to be there, but we're going to play it down, and we're going to focus on the character dynamics and relationships, and that's brought by Michael Piller. And that kind of works, but it just, to me, it's like it's Star Trek, but Star Trek adjacent, because it's still Star Trek, and it's still some really great episodes, and it's still some really great points that fit to what Star Trek is. But when you put the characters ahead of the overall concept of what your story is, because you're supposed to put your characters first, but you're not supposed to put them so much so that the story that they're experiencing is secondary. Like they're supposed to be symbiotic. They're supposed to be hand in hand. Because that's what I loved about the original series with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. Even though they had their own personal stuff, it never interfered with their mission. It actually kind of complemented it, or it created some conflict for them to overcome within that story episodically. With the Next Generation, it got to the point where this was no longer a crew. This was now more of a family. And then you take that superficial take of the family, and that's where you have a Discovery where they're not even officers. They're not even.
Now we need a family button.
Family, and they're incompetent in Discovery. But in Next Gen, they're at least competent, and they understood the responsibilities, but they had a certain level of intimacy that worked well with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy in the feature films, but we didn't really see it in the actual original series. And the most we actually really see of that family is in Star Trek V. So that's
Which
that
is the undiscovered country?
it's the Final Frontier. It's
Final
the
Frontier.
Nimbus 3,
like
the planet of galactic peace between Romulans, Klingons, and humans. It's does not work out well, and they go to find God at the center of the galaxy.
Xavier DeGod has a good question. If they did Spider-Man 4 without Sam, Toby, and Dunst back in 2011, would it have worked? Or do you think the fans and audiences would have not liked it? I have never really thought about it.
Good question.
So like within the same continuity and then changed
new
out
cast,
all of those?
yeah.
And then like tried to operate on it still being within the same continuity?
Well, obviously they have J.K. Simmons still as, J.
Yeah,
Jonah Jameson.
I don't. You see, my initial reaction is to say no, but then I also have to remind myself that I was in the camp of when they originally announced and teased Amazing Spider-Man 1. I didn't want it, and then I saw it, and it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. But it's still easier for me to accept that because that was them like, okay, they're rebooting the thing. They're not trying to tell me that this is a continuation. If you're going to tell me it's a continuation, then all of these integral pieces are being swapped out. That's going to be not impossible, but harder for me to get on board with. Especially if I already like the cast that's there. Like, say, for example, the Incredible Hulk. Like, I really liked that movie. I'm right with Jeff there. And then that's supposed to be semi-canonical because we did have, teases of that, like linking, into the MCU in those early years. But then, they swapped out the actor with Mark Ruffalo, who's not a fraction as good, certainly a micro fraction as entertaining. And so it's going to be harder for me to get on board. If you're telling me it's the same continuity, telling me it's a continuation, but you're swapping out these parts, that's harder for me, man. That's really difficult. That'd be like changing out Luke in freaking Return of the Jedi with somebody. Mark Hamill's a freaking raging lunatic now, but like as far as the character of Luke Skywalker, if you'd swapped out the actor at that point, that would have been super jarring, right? Or if you'd swapped out freaking Harrison Ford.
If you think Mark Hamill's a lunatic, wait till you see what I write him like in the book. Because
I'm looking forward to it, man. I am so looking forward to it.
I was on such a roll. I even wrote how Frankenfisher ends. Like that's how far planned out I am.
That's
just
good.
like,
I love it.
Like
I love it.
Mark.
when you got the creative juices flowing, man, you just got to let them go.
That's why I've moved Christmas '93 back a year. It'll be okay.
Yeah, let it happen when it's ready to happen.
Yeah, I'll tell that story. Maybe we'll tell it. In 2028, when it'll be 35 years. Thank you, Xavier DeGod. I'll just say I don't think it would have worked. I would have gone to see it on opening day, and it would have felt so weird because I didn't really fully get what every Sam Raimi-ism was until I went to college after Spider-Man 3 came out. It was that summer before I went to college that movie was released. So I probably would have been very vehemently opposed to it because I was a new Sam Raimi acolyte, having learned a lot of his methods. And so if it was better than expected, I probably would have gone to see the one after it, but it would have had to have been like, it would have to be like Casino Royale, where I was ready to hate everything about it. And then I saw it and I was like, yeah, I can't. This is a good one. So I went out and bought it. But it would feel like that to me because I know it's a new James Bond world and timeline and all that crap, but to me, that was just like, oh man, they got rid of Pierce Brosnan for this jabroni.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I bet like Casino Royale sadly was the only good one out of those.
I like Skyfall and part of Spectre, but that's as generous as I can be. Spectre has some strong moments. and then No Time to Die can just go take
I
a
haven't
leap.
seen No Time to Die. Yeah.
No time to watch it. Then
I still
You're
haven't
not
seen
missing out.
Spectre.
No, I think the last one I did see was actually Skyfall, and I was not thrilled with it.
I saw
The
Skyfall in
Dark Knight.
theaters and I almost fell asleep.
I saw it twice, according to my Facebook memories, but I don't actually remember seeing it twice in theaters. But I like the song. I like the movie enough. That's the one I'd have to be like nitpicky to really hate it. But visually, it's interesting, especially when he goes to Hong Kong and fights the guy as the silhouette across the lit background of the city. That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for in a James Bond movie nowadays, and it hit all the benchmarks I needed. But Spectre, you should check it out, Andrew, because it has a really good car chase. There is some very classic James Bond. This is the one with Daniel Craig where they're like, oh, we're going to make it a little less realistic like it used to be. So there's a part where like James Bond falls out a window and he lands on a couch and he kind of looks at it like, seriously, a couch? And then it just, from that moment on, it's like slightly more fantastical. The car chase has got a little edge of comedy to it.
It's more
And
fun
then
that way. Right?
But then it goes out to the desert and the movie grinds to a halt. But then there's a third act, and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty solid because it does something never seen before in a James Bond movie. And then the next one comes out, and it's terrible. So that's my assessment of Spectre in 2 minutes or less.
All right. Good to know.
Yeah, pointless. But you know what? People want to know. Jack White, thank you. Did you see the final arc of Demon Slayer is getting a movie trilogy adaptation? I can't wait. I did not. My buddy was trying to get me into Demon Slayer last Tuesday. He was telling me about it. He has a statue of the character. He's like, you got to check it out, man. He was telling me more and more about it. So it is on that list, Jack White. Jack White also says some series recommendations if you're tired of the overrepresentation of the alphabet community and their relationships more than a married couple, but not lover. Rascal Does Not Dream series. So let's see. Relationship more than a married couple, but not a love. Okay. There we go. I'll check it out. I will watch anime that's like a drama or just non-super fantastical stuff. Those are the ones that I get. Yeah, those are the ones I get hooked in watching. It's like, this is a soap opera, but it's a cartoon soap opera, so I'm gonna watch it. And then I'm just like way more into it. It's
Slice of life anime is a genre that does very well.
I should do a slice of life. I don't want to do a slice of life comic. That'd be boring. It's just like, yeah, my day is working at a fast food restaurant. No. But thank you, Jack. Jack also says, banished from the hero's party, I dedicated to live a quiet life in the countryside. Classroom of the elite. Bungao. Stray dogs. Solo leveling. Windbreaker. Windbreaker. There you go. We got a secondary one. I got 2 screenshots of both. Jack, I decided to live a life in the countryside. Sounds very interesting. Have you guys heard of that?
No.
I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside anime. I gotta see what it looks like. All right, it's 2021 action. It's got 2. It looks far more interesting than you would think. Because I was like, oh, it's just going to be about a farmer or something. No, it's kind of got your normal anime elements. So, yeah. Thanks, Jack. I will check this one out for sure.
It at least has my attention.
There you go. It looks like it could be fun. I've watched, like, over the years, I would definitely watch the anime that would show up on Netflix because they wouldn't get, like, tons and tons of stuff. You'd get, like, a couple series here and there in the beginning. I'm like, all right. And I've watched some weird ones. I've watched some good ones. Mostly, I forgot about a lot of them.
There was a period of time where Netflix actually had quite a few of like the bigger named animes on it.
There was a time where Netflix seemed like a good value.
There was. That was many moons ago.
Now it's just like, oh, I have Netflix. All right, cool. Well, Beverly Hills Cop was awesome, but that's about it.
If you're into Cobra Kai.
Yeah, Cobra Kai. Season 6 part 1 was actually not part 6, season 6 part 1 was actually pretty good. Couple of stumbles with the kids side of things, except for Tori's character, but overall I'm actually quite impressed with it, and I hope they stick the landing because we got 2 more parts on the way, one in November, another one in early of 2025.
Can't believe we're already talking about 2025 like it's a release window. We're more than halfway through this year.
I know. I'm very disappointed with that. I wanted this year to last a little longer.
This year went by way too quick.
It's just picking up for me, so I'm very, very happy about it. But yeah, I would like it to slow down a little. I haven't really hung out with a lot of people. I need to check in with everybody. WOKEBUSTERS has taken up a lot of my time. Thank you to everybody, though, for helping it pass its goal. We have a couple of days left, so if you are on the fence about it, you can guarantee to get yourselves a copy. So check that out. Go to Kickstarter, type in WOKEBUSTERS. I'll still be streaming about it. I'm going to be back on Saturday to talk about it, to see if we can push it over a little further. And then maybe we'll do a closeout on Sunday as well. But it ends at 12:12 in the afternoon. And you guys don't want to keep watching me stream, right? We'll find out. Thank you, though, Jack White, for both of those. Xavier to God up next says, fun DB facts. Vegeta is undefeated against Goku with being 3-0, and Vegeta never defeated in a main villain beside himself. But beat the main hero, though. I didn't think of it that way, honestly. I just always thought Vegeta was chasing after Goku because he felt inferior, so I never even thought of the fact that Vegeta gets the better of him. Any comments on that one? Any Dragon Ball Z statements you want to make?
I mean, I'm always good for giving Vegeta some love because that's one of my two favorite characters. I like Goku just fine, but I like Vegeta and Trunks the most. I don't like Gohan at all.
Thank you.
I don't like Gohan. I don't like Kid Trunks. I don't detest Kid Goten as much as I did Kid Gohan, but I'm still not a fan.
I don't like Chi-Chi.
No, you're not supposed to like Chi-Chi.
Chi-Chi's just a twat.
I don't like... Oh, what's his face? Or I don't like Chi-Chi's dad either. Or...
Oh, the Ox King?
Yeah, he's... Well, I don't dislike him. He just is there. I'm like, he's fine.
No, Master Roshi's where it's at.
I like Master Roshi. Master Roshi is great.
Master Roshi.
He's a horny old man. I was going to take a shit on Krillin, but I like Krillin. Not enough to buy his toy. For me, it's like Goku and Vegeta, and then Piccolo. And then everybody else is just
Piccolo's a strong choice.
I just don't like the kid characters or the really, Trunks is just a kid after... Future Trunks is cool.
Yeah.
I like Future Trunks.
Future Trunks is my favorite character. He's awesome.
Jack White, thank you very much again. He says, it goes without saying that the blonde girl is then that image. Sorry. It goes without saying that the blonde girl in that image, you should, Jeff, is the main dude's love interest, a fun and cute dynamic between them. Well, I would assume that it would be a simpler dynamic, less complicated than some of the crap we'd put over here on TV. So that would be refreshing. Yeah, it'll be weird. It's like, I feel like watching a slice of life anime, like I said, is watching a soap opera. And I don't want to watch a soap opera. I don't want to admit to watching a soap opera. And some people like telenovelas. I never wanted to read the subtitles, but maybe I'll get into an anime slice of life and be like, guys, you got to watch it. It's so great. And then it'll get a lot of attention and people will be like, what slice of anime or slice of life anime you're going to watch next? And I guess I'm going to have to go on a journey to watch every one.
You're going to have a video segment every week that's you watching a different slice of life anime.
Yeah, it'll be the most popular thing on the channel. Like people just like tune in. We got to know, Jeff. What did you think?
It honestly would be more manageable than trying to go through some of the long form shonens. That's for sure.
I would rather do that because, like, no offense to anybody that's into One Piece or Naruto or these ones that are just like huge,
several hundred episodes long.
I'm just like, no, guys. I read comics. I'm gonna read like an old issue of Captain America. To keep caught up. Like that's one thing I do. Like some of these characters, it is my intention to read every appearance of theirs. Like Superman, that's a little much, but I've read most appearances of Spider-Man already, and then I'd like to probably check out like all Wolverines or something like that. Even just little cameos.
Yeah.
Head Case Laboratory says Vegeta should call himself the King of All Saiyans instead of the Prince of All Saiyans. Yeah.
I mean, he was never crowned king is probably the only reason why. So technically, he would still just be a prince. Doesn't matter that he's an adult.
Let's see, more than a married couple. Okay, anime. All right, Xavier or Jack White, thank you for this as well. He says, check out the synopsis for this anime. Jiro Yakuin is partnered with his Gairu classmate Akira Watanabe for the class's marriage training project. Jiro and Akari are complete opposites that work hard to switch partners to end up with their respective crushes.
That's a synopsis.
That might be a little too slice of lifey for me. Oh my god, they're like blushing, looking at each other. There's one about cooking. I'll watch that slice of life anime. It's like, yes, teach me how to make ramen in animated form. I'm on board.
Yeah, watch Food Wars. That's the one.
I have actually, and I bought. There's like a manga of it or something like that. I bought that.
Yeah, there you go.
I just thought it was like going to be like
well-designed main character.
Yeah. Jack, maybe I'll watch this one night after I've had a drink or two.
Or 3.
Xavier to God, back again. Thank you. My top Dragon Ball characters are Son Goku, Prince Vegeta, Future Trunks, Piccolo, Lord Frieza, Perfect Cell, Gohan, Cooler, and finally, Broly. You got some of my favorites on there.
I hate Gohan. But there's some good characters on there for sure.
I too enjoy Frieza. Final form. He's my favorite Dragon Ball Z villain.
He's the best Dragon Ball Z villain.
Yeah, because Vegeta's like, he's a redeemed character. So after he becomes redeemed, you can't call him a villain.
Yeah, he's just an asshole.
Oh, yeah. But I still stand by the Sand arc. I could watch that again right now. That's how much I like that one.
I'm actually tempted to start finally going through Super because I've only seen like the first 12 episodes of it.
I put it on and then I turned it off because I wasn't feeling it. I hated how Dragon Ball Z ended. And so I was so disappointed. I'm like, I'm not going to watch Super right now. And then that was like a month ago.
All of Z and GT actually on DVD.
GT, that Dragon Punch that he does was pretty cool looking.
It's a cool looking move, right?
Yeah, that you sent me that video last week. I watched it like 3 times. I'm like, what the hell did I just see? That was awesome, man.
Right? That's freaking cool.
And I do like the dystopian future setting with the destroyed city. It was really neat looking. So maybe one day I'll sit down and do GT. Is it short at least?
It's not particularly long. It's only 2 seasons. So I want to say it's a total of like 50 or 60 some odd episodes. I might be misremembering. It's been a long time since I watched, but it's a fraction of the length of Z. A fraction of it. It's got some cool ideas, many of which are not executed particularly well, but it does have some cool stuff.
Sorry, I was getting this queued up for Jack White about this other anime he wanted me to look at the synopsis of. So, Our Last Crusade or The Rise of the New World. God, that's all in Japanese. Okay. Has published 15. Okay, the plot. 4 years, a seemingly endless war has raged between technologically advanced Heavenly Empire and the countries of powerful magic users known as the Nebulous Sovereignty. In the present day, a master swordsman from the Empire named Iska and the Ice Calamity Witch from Nebulous, ruling Famula, Alicisa, meet on the battlefield determined to kill each other. However, even as enemies, both harbor a secret desire to peacefully end the war between their two nations without further bloodshed. As circumstances continuously conspire to bring them together, Iska and Alice begin to wonder if they can find peace with each other at first. Through this, they create a path to bring an end to this war. I'll add this in. The art looks interesting, to say the least. It's got what every anime needs. Yeah, I'm glad I kept that Crunchyroll subscription. I'm gonna watch way more, even though Jujutsu Kaisen? Yeah, that's on Hulu. So I'm a sucker for horror anime. I like to be scared, even though this is not scary at all. It's kind of funny. It's weird. Now, guys, we got Comic-Con this weekend. We're going to get some more trailers. We're going to get some big reveals. Is there any kind of dream projects that you're hoping to see or hear about from Comic-Con?
Honestly, most of the stuff that I'm hoping for is actually centered around comic books, and one of which was fulfilled. So one of my favorite artists, J. Scott Campbell, he recently did a variant cover for the reboot of Top Cow's Witchblade, and it's a beautiful cover, very sexy as Witchblade is supposed to be. And I was hoping that there would be like a foil variant of that would be maybe like a Comic-Con exclusive. And sure as hell, he announced that there would be. I think he announced it yesterday or the day before, and then today on his Instagram, he showed one off, and it's this just beautiful like spot foil on her armor, on the text logo up at the top, like just very well designed spot foil cover. And I'm so stoked about this cover. It looks absolutely beautiful. And thankfully, my buddy Spencer is going to be, who wrote the article we might be taking a look at. He is going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, and he's going to try and cop me a copy of that. And if not, I'll have to try and get it off of Campbell's website if he's puts up enough of them.
I'll have to check that out because he's an artist I really, really like. I love his work.
Yeah, his stuff is absolutely beautiful.
I'm trying to find the article tab. There we go. Because I did want to share it. By the way, you can tell my ad history right here. All these Japanese figures. It's like,
yeah, my man.
I did finally get my Rogue figure pre-ordered from Japan, so my X-Men collection will be complete.
That Rogue and Phoenix over there on the top left look really great.
Should I get
really,
the
really
Phoenix? Because I have regular Jean Grey and Storm and Psylocke. So I'm not skimping on the ladies, but I don't really think of the Phoenix teaming up with the Jim Lee X-Men, does she?
Not to my recollection, but it's a great design and a great looking figure, so that's all that should matter. To me. It would to me. That line of figures is just fantastic in general.
Oh, they are. I have the regular Magneto, not the Age of Ultron Magneto, or not Age of Ultron, Age of Apocalypse, excuse me. I always do that because they just kind of roll together. Age of Ultron. So, guys, we have complained about comic books for quite a long time. Not because we're crotchety old men, not because we're just angry, bitter fans. No, it's because, in this case, comic books have taken a dive in terms of quality. And so former editor-in-chief of Marvel, Jim Shooter, slams the current slate of Western comics. It's supposed to be entertainment, but a lot of it comes out like propaganda. Guys, there is definitely a heavy message in comic books. There was a switch maybe 10 years ago where they were really forcing a new directive in what comic books should represent. Certain voices were given a bigger platform. Certain art styles were forced down our throats. And 10 years later, what we have is an industry that is a shell of itself. It was already much smaller than it was in its heyday, in its glory days, but it had sustained itself and found a way to be relevant in the modern era. Then it kind of burned itself out. And now Jim Shooter, the editor-in-chief from the 70s through the 80s, and in my opinion, he was in charge when some good books came out. Let's talk about what he's saying. Now, guys, do you agree with this headline, or is it something that you would think is wrong outright?
I think it's right on the money.
I mean, yeah, entertainment. It comes down to, well, what is the entertainment? What's the parameters that meet the entertainment qualification, right? Because again, as it goes to what I said earlier, entertainment is easy and disposable, but you want engagement, you want conversation, you want people to talk about it. You can look at comics from the early 80s to the late 90s, and you will see a lot of issues that are beautifully drawn, but stories that are kind of forgettable. but you'll also see some really great ones that kind of stand out among the rest.
Mhm.
And the question being is like, well, if that's par for the course, then we have a lot has changed, because all we've got now are stories that stand out for all the wrong reasons, and the art is kind of bad.
Yeah.
So you've got an inverse of that. So, I mean, I just see this more as like a platitude from him, a fair one, but like, listen, I've talked to a lot of people over the years at Detective Comics Publishing and Marvel, and they don't really want real writers over there. They don't. Like,
Oh, I can tell. I've read Marvel and DC comics within the last several years.
yeah, I mean, even when you like, even if you go into some of like the classic one, the classic aspects of the stories, you know, you're getting into like Danny O'Neill, you're getting into John Byrne, all those guys, like even them, they were writing stuff that they thought was fun and entertaining for themselves, and it just jived with audiences. But they also, like, they weren't perfect. They also threw out some stories that were kind of like not necessarily cringe, but definitely not to the par that you'd expect. And you also have to remember that comic books is a very different type of written medium. It's not the same as novels. It's not the same as television. It's not the same as feature films. It's a form of deadline writing, similar to like a newspaper article. You have a target. You have 30 days to turn in a 22, 23 page script. That'll then be drawn over the next 6 to 8 months and then released. You don't have necessarily the time to actually give your audience a story that is on the same level of effort that a novel or a television show or a feature film will have. It's very different. And the ones that are able to, you know, capture that lightning in the bottle, as you said earlier, Andrew, and just hit on exactly what story it is and then turn out something great, that's the thing that every publisher wishes they could get every month with a release. And it's really hard to get, because the way that they've done their modeling, the way that the publications started out is, well, we don't do, you know, one story every quarter. We do multiple stories a month from multiple characters every month. And that demand from the publisher to hit the market does cause burnout within writers. They don't get to have the time they need to really mature a story. Sometimes you'll get a great concept with a lousy execution. You can look at a bunch of comics in the 60s on DC side of things. Oh, cool concept. Okay, we're just getting out here because it's a gimmick. It works. It's gonna hit our deadline. We can draw it quick. We can get it out. Boom. Then you got into the 80s. Late 80s, early 90s, especially with like the Image comic stuff. Where it's like, okay, we just need something sensational, really cool teams. We need to sort of pair X-Men, but do our own thing. So we got Wildcats. It's all about big shoulders, big pouches. It doesn't matter if the superhero can't move in the costume. It looks good in stills, and we can get some real cool poses out of it. And again, they're remembered not for the best of reasons. They're remembered because the art was cool, but what do we know about all the characters? Are they as they are recognizable household names as, you know, a majority of the X-Men players were from the revival after with the Uncanny X-Men to modern day? They seem like Fantastic Four. They seem like Justice League. No, and it's not necessarily due to the fact that they lasted as that they had as long as a publication run, excuse me, as the other ones. It's the fact that the reason the latter mentioned titles kind of lasted is because they kind of had different perspective of execution, different perspective of style. And it wasn't until I think early 2000s where Image kind of started to take off again with their second renaissance, so to speak, with other stories, other writers coming in. Robert Kirkland doing his stuff over there. Did not
Walking Dead.
Yeah, Walking Dead and then Invincible and whatnot. Like he managed to make that work. And Todd McFarlane just went over onto the business side of things. Like, and good for him. Like, he still draws. Like I know he does doodles, but
and he does do lead story editing on some of the books as well as like some writing. But I think he's shifted gears into primarily the business side, and he more than anything just either draws for fun now or for like if he's doing a cover. Like he still does plenty of covers or key art, which I love seeing because it's usually for stuff that's like in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, I like older Todd McFarlane art, like older man, like current day stuff.
Yeah.
So much. I think he's been slightly refining his stuff over the years to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, now maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm more refined as a consumer of this stuff. And I don't mean like as the consumer, like, purchasing. I mean like as I really like take in what this stuff looks like. It's exciting. I wasn't a fan back in the day, and he's definitely the image guy that I find the most interesting to look through his stuff, because Jim Lee's the best one in my opinion in terms of just flat out quality. But McFarlane's stuff you have to really look at it, because some of it isn't as realistic or as balanced as other things are in his own artwork.
Yeah,
but it makes a really nice final picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was me waxing philosophical about art. Sorry, folks. Kind of got to do it. It's
as an artist could do.
Yeah. So when asked about the comic book industry in the modern era, Jim Shooter had this to say: I think that I don't care if you agree with every word they say. Nobody wants to read propaganda, he argued. It's just boring, and there's an awful lot of retconning going on. Like I said, I respect the intent of the creators, and Jack Kirby never intended for Thor to be a girl, and Joe Simon and Jack Kirby are spinning in their graves because they turned Captain America to like a Hydra guy or a Nazi or something, and they revealed that he always was. That's just wrong. I mean, I don't say that. I was like, I don't do that. Stay true to the character. Those are two separate sentences. I agree with that. You should stay true to the characters.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's having respect for, it's far more than just having respect for, because he mentions having respect for the creators, right? And that's, I think, as somebody that, the torch is passed down to you, I think there's some responsibility there of respecting the original creator's intent. You can still evolve the character, right? But there are still certain things about that character that if you don't keep that there, then you're ultimately going to disrespect the original creator. But more importantly, you're disrespecting the character itself, which disrespects the audience and the fans of that character, because we became fans of Spidey because of who he is, how he is, right? If they were to completely change his character and all that was the same was just his name and his costume, well, that's not Spider-Man anymore. It may as well just be somebody else entirely. If the character doesn't remain true to at least the kind of key tent poles of what makes that character, you're not writing that character at that point. If you write Batman as some effeminate sissy pants crying about his fifis over Catwoman, who's a horrible relationship for him anyway, then I'm sorry, you're not writing Batman. You're trying to work out your own shit on the page, because that's not how Bruce Wayne acts. It's not to say that Bruce can't have actual feelings and that he can't express those in some form or fashion, but what Tom King did with his run on Batman after the infamous wedding issue, like it was a joke. It was a travesty. It was a disrespect to the character and a disrespect to fans.
Why can't we just have some fun Batman? Like have him go up against a new crime syndicate and some supervillains and some layers. Put Batman out in the desert again. Do this cool shit. Like, let's just see Batman be this big. Like, if I could control Batman, he'd be a big swashbuckling hero akin to the cartoon of the 90s, where it would be big adventures, big stories. I wouldn't, and it doesn't have to be like for kids. It can still have an element of darkness. But my Batman ain't cracking skulls. He's not the Punisher. He's not going to have shredded.
There should still be delineation between those two.
Well, the reason we don't get stories like that is because they're not hiring the writers that have the experience to tell those types of stories. I mean, that's just the case. Like, do you really think there's a lot of writers at DC right now that have actually been to other countries outside of the United States to actually have Batman do a globe-trotting adventure against Ra's al Ghul? No. Do you think that there are actually any writers at DC right now that have actually read stories in newspapers, like old and current, about crimes that are happening to get inspiration of the types of stuff that Batman could investigate? Do they actually read mystery novels? Do they actually go into the history of serial killers and what they did and their methods to try and understand and create intriguing mysteries for Batman to solve? No, they don't do any of that stuff. The DC publishing does not hire writers that know those types of things, or even are willing to research or look into those types of things. They hire writers that, in some cases, they just want to use writing for comics to get them into a stepping stone for television or film, which is a bad idea because, again, as I said earlier, it's a different type of medium.
You can tell when somebody comes over from one medium and then goes into comics, or if they just have no idea how to write comics and they're just trying to pass themselves off as a comic writer because they want to go write elsewhere, as you said, because everything's different. The pacing, the things that you have to set up, it is completely different. It's no different than like writing for TV compared to writing to a movie.
Well, the thing is, you're writing a story along with you're writing a storyboard. And that's the difference, because it is up to now pairing with a proper artist who actually understands what you're trying to depict in the storyboard aspect of what you're writing, to make sure that the pacing of what the story is matches the intention of what the writing is done. And in some cases, there's just some, like Kevin Smith as an example. He's a feature film writer. He wrote feature film scripts that were then, it was up to his artist team when he was doing Green Arrow to actually translate that into a comic book format to try and work, and it didn't always land. Yeah. And that's just because, again, he's working in a narrower page count. You have a shorter amount of time to tell the story, or you have to find a different way and method of breaking up that story to fit the page count run and the weekly and the monthly release schedule. That is what makes it very much different. You can actually you can definitely write a screenplay. Like if you do a proper 3-act structure screenplay, you can break that up appropriately so that you can actually hit a 12-week run. Because all you have to realize is that when you're looking at your 3-act structure, you're breaking down your 3 acts into another set of 3 acts as well. Yeah. And that's how you break it up into your total of 12. So that's how you can kind of run through it. But you have to understand that first. You can't just jump into it, jump into the deep end of the pool and say, okay, that's how we're going to do it. Then you're screwing up, because again, even comic books, even when you take a look at whether it's a single issue run or it's a multi-part issue like 4, 8, 12, 24, what have you, there is a lot of story structure that harkens back to exactly what you get in novels and comic books and film and television. It is there. It's just the format is different, and not everybody picks it up right away. And sometimes especially the ones that are like, oh, I can use this as just a stepping stone to this thing, or I can take my feature film idea and I can just convert it into a comic book. They don't look deep enough to be like, well, how do you make sure that this works within the confines of the medium? Because again, sometimes when you're dealing with feature films, well, they're more dialogue heavy than comic books traditionally are. Comic books are visual first, dialogue secondary. And then you also have to find out, well, how much movement do you have in your...
You have to pick your spots when it comes to dialogue. If you're using more than just a line or two, you have to really pick your spots in comic books. Well, and also like pacing in terms of allowing a scene to breathe as it plays
you're getting into a different area. But the other part too is that a lot of movies and a lot of way that screenplays are done now is 2 characters or 3 characters sitting in a single location talking, because it's cheaper to shoot that. You don't have that restriction in comic books. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to go into another area of narration, of narrative style, which is narration. You need the internal monologue. That's how you get little snippets of dialogue to convey to us what the character is thinking, how they're proceeding with the story, to cover in the exposition that normally you can't do in dialogue, that normally you can't do with a sit-down conversation where you have 2 people across the table talking. Those, like if you were to take, say, the classic scene that Hitchcock talks about, which is you have a couple sitting at a diner, they're having an argument, but underneath the table is a ticking time bomb with 5 minutes on the counter. They don't know it's there. You can't really get away with that exactly in the same manner in a comic book page the way that you can on screen, because the pacing is now dictated by the actual runtime of the film. On a comic book, it's until the reader turns the page, and they can stay on that page forever if they want. And that's just it. So you cannot use the same type of methods, for film or television show of that era of suspense in a comic book in the exact same way. You have to find a different way. So you have to understand and think about, okay, your odd number pages, that's going to be on your left-hand side. Your even number pages, that's going to be on your right-hand side. How do you make sure that the story is paced so that the even number pages end on a cliffhanger that allows you that compels the reader to turn the page and then continue on to the story? And how do you make the odd number pages satisfy, the cliffhanger they did on the previous page? And you've got to do that 10, 11 times in a 22-page issue. And even more if you're getting higher than that. Otherwise, what's the point in turning the page, right? And that's one of the areas you have to think about, which in screenwriting terms, sometimes people don't even think about how to get the reader of your script from page 1 to page 2, and then from page 2 to page 3, and so forth and so forth. Sometimes they're just like, oh, we'll just have a monologue here, so we interrupt it. So if you want to hear find out what the end of the monologue is of that character, you have to go to the next page. And that's a cheap way. I see that a lot with writers who are like, I don't have a gimmick here, I don't have a question, I don't have any intrigue to get the reader to the next page, so I'm just going to have a long monologue to sort of pad that out to compel the person to get to the next page, and hopefully they'll want to continue reading. And those mindsets, they're rare in current generation writers right now. So that was my TED Talk.
Well, we should be charging a subscription fee for that kind of TED Talk here on YouTube. I'm with you about it being a visual medium, and I always am guilty. A story needs to be good, but the art is what will sell me on a book. And I will read a lot of comics, especially heavy metal, that'll have crap stories but great art. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's the context. Like I won't read like a superhero comic book that has a bad story and good art. But if I'm reading something experimental, like in a magazine, and it's still a comic book, I'm more forgiving. I personally just will read independent stuff, or I'll read older stuff. I'm not going to buy into Marvel propaganda, according to Jim Shooter. What I will do is I will appreciate what's there, and I will continue to hone my craft and bring new books to the audience. So that's my TED Talk on comic books. Jack White, thank you very much for your generous super chat. Jack says, there are comedic moments in More Than a Married Couple, one of them being Akira running into the bathroom when Gyro is taking a shower and demanding that he kill the Black Beast, a.k.a. the Spider. All right, well, I'm kind of picking up how they're doing stuff in this show. It's probably quite a heartwarming ending, isn't it, Jack? Like I said, I got the screenshot. I gotta watch the other one first, but now I'm kind of interested. I just want to watch the most banal slice of life show and see how much I like it. John Thomas says, Script, have you heard anything recently about the Alita 2 or Black Company movie?
No movement on Alita 2. Nothing. Black Company. Wasn't that a miniseries? Yeah.
No idea.
I'd
like
heard
an
anything
Alita 2
on a movie for the Black Company. But yeah.
Signed up for an Alita 2. I'm late to the party on Alita Battle Angel, but man, was that a good movie. I really liked it.
It was so fun. It was just absolutely fun. And I still need to see it in 4K.
Yeah, we had a copy we gave away on our 400th episode. Let me look. I might have a couple bonus copies, and I'll send you one.
Righteous. Awesome. I appreciate that.
So, guys, we are nearing our third hour. It means it is getting closer to midnight. I'm clearly getting tired, and I got to be up for Good Morning Pop Culture in the morning. So,
favorite morning show.
Thank you. We've been having fun with it. Now, folks, I do need to line up some stuff with the channel to get it mapped out for Alien Month and things like that. And I'm going to be doing a lot of that behind the scenes. It's not really relevant to this, but we will find a way to make Good Morning Pop Culture a thing. You guys can go get your Workin' and Lurkin' mug. You can get that at shopwcbs.com right now. And I will have mine here any day. And then we will drink our coffee together. And soon we'll get a WCBS branded coffee that we can sell. And that will be just another fun element of Good Morning Pop Culture. You can be working and lurking, getting caffeinated on the same bean juice that I do. That's a pitch. So anyway,
good with it.
Folks, thank you to everyone, though. Let me be serious for a minute. Thank you to everybody who made WOKEBUSTERS happen. We passed the goal. We're 102% technically past funding, so that makes me feel very good. And I'd like to thank everybody who believes in the project, believes in the channel, believes in what we do. We have a lot of people out there watching at all times, so thank you to everybody out there. But I'm going to be going to bed a very happy man tonight. One, the Acolyte's over, and I haven't thought about Star Wars all week. That has made me great.
Thank God.
You posted another super chat. Did it show us John Thomas? So let's see. I got the one about the Black Company, John. That is the very last super chat we have. I'm going back. I got one from you at the beginning of the show at 9:53, and we definitely talked about that one because I took a picture because I said it was a Fathom event. And then we did Word of the Day, which is Tipples.
Yeah.
So, John, we have gone back and we did read all of yours. Talk about Boogie. Like, the YouTuber, did something happen to him?
Who?
Oh, it's I'm not fully clued in on it, other than he apparently he was like faking that he was dying or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was stupid YouTuber doing stupid YouTuber crap. That's basically what it was.
That's disappointing.
He faked having cancer. That's what my buddy Spencer said in the chat.
Yeah,
that's messed up.
My uncle, who's had leukemia, we were so worried that he had another form of cancer return.
Mhm.
Thankfully, it didn't come back and all is well. So that was like something we were all stressing out about. But this guy makes up stuff for personal gain. That's tasteless, my man.
Yeah.
That's tasteless.
Yeah. You're human fecal matter if you do that.
You're just desperate for views, man. I think that's really sad and really low. Best of luck to you, Boogie. I wasn't watching your videos anyway because I wasn't into your shtick. But now I'll never even consider checking out anything on you because I'm like, that's stupid, man.
I still don't know who this guy is, and I don't care.
He was the big fat guy who got skinny.
I don't think he actually got skinny, did he?
Oh.
I think he's still huge. I think, at least from a clip that I saw scrolling through Twitter earlier, but then again, it could have been somebody else.
Adama, I'm going to read your super chat and give you the appropriate time. Thank you for your very generous super chat. I just wanted to give people the context on the screen. He said he got cancer and raised money off of it. Then he asked for proof and offered $75K from other YouTubers for proof of his diagnosis. He admitted he made it all up. Then he called, when called out on a live stream, he threatened to, okay. And he's still fat.
Yep.
Okay.
Still fat.
Okay.
Hold on. I think we got a button
fat.
for him. I was just about to press that one. I'm going to make him bleed.
This fat son of a bitch.
Oh God, where are we at? So many of these damn Scott Steiner buttons, but you know what? Never too many.
They're the best, though.
He is the best. Shit. I found fat asses. Where is the... That's the Scott Steiner.
Threats are part of wrestling, But you got to look at the person that's making the threats. This fat son of a bitch is challenged all of us, has been world champions before, been in this business 15, 20 years, and this fat son of a bitch is going to challenge us all out.
Just calm down, okay? All right?
He's fat! I'm going to...
There we go. There we go. We'll burn him. Adama, thank you very much for your very generous super chat. Adama says, "Hail, everyone. Speaking of Batman, I recently rewatched Mask of the Phantasm. It really brought Bruce Wayne's feelings into the story in an interesting way. It asks if he can be Gotham's protector and be in love. Still good. I'd say great.
That movie's fantastic.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That movie, and I also loved Sub-Zero as a kid.
Underrepresented movie. Sub-Zero solid. It's not Mask of the Phantasm, but it's not bad. I think people brush it under the rug because Batman and Robin had Mr. Freeze in it.
Mm-hmm.
But Adama, I love Batman Mask of the Phantasm. So like most kids, I didn't go see this in theaters because we didn't really know that it was out in theaters. It was kind of like now on home video. And you're like, oh, okay, this Batman movie. So we rented it and I really liked it. And I would rent it every once in a while because I only owned Batman 89 as a kid and Batman Forever. So Mask of the Phantasm was always this special event movie. It's like, oh, yeah, let's get a copy. And then eventually I picked it up on DVD, and I'd watch it quite a bit. I got the 4K in the other room. I thought it was a little too grainy, so I was a little disappointed, but that's a technical issue, not a quality of the movie. It's still one of the best Batman movies ever made. And the fight with the Joker at the end in the old Gotham amusement park, the World of the Future.
Yeah.
So great. And that Joker laugh when he's going to die. It's so great. And I love that Batman can never be truly happy. He's got to suffer to be Batman, which is what it is to be a superhero. That's the gravity of it. Like Spider-Man. Oh, you get to swing around the city and be cool and look cool to girls. yeah, but you're broke and you feel guilty that your uncle died and all that stuff. These characters have to carry a heavy weight with them. And Mask of the Phantasm does it so well. And it humanizes Bruce Wayne in a way that, like, as a kid, I completely saw him differently. In the movies, he felt like a caricature. But in this movie, he felt like a character. And I loved it. I still love it to this day. No, anything but high remarks for that movie. I fucking love it.
That movie understood the assignment.
Oh God, yes,
it understood the assignment, and that's why
and
it still holds up so well.
Oh, music's great.
The score is fantastic.
The only thing that sucks about that movie is the fact that it was spoiled back in the '90s by the toy release.
Oh yeah.
They don't package the Phantasm toy like that anymore. She's always got the helmet on. You're like,
that was such a, like, how do you overlook that? What kind of oversight was job lacking Kenner. There? Yeah, Kenner, great job.
I'm very nostalgic for those old Kenner figures, though. Their lack of articulation, their sculpting's great, though. I mean, the Batman animated series toy line, Batman the animated series toy line is one of the best of all time. That sculpting for 1992 through 1994 or 5, they got everything down from that show. I love it.
Yep.
And, yeah, I would love a live action version of that movie as well, Adama. It would be. It's kind of a blend between Batman Begins already. Like Batman Begins and Mask of the Phantasm have a couple similarities. But hold on a second. Could you ever do a live action Mask of the Phantasm? Because I get it that Rachel Dawes would have to be the villain. But in many ways, isn't that kind of like hitting the same story beats of Batman losing his family, training, trying to balance a romance, trying to find a way to save the city? Like, aren't we kind of seeing all of that just in a different package?
Well, I mean, they're both kind of the Rachel Dawes character and the Andrea Beaumont character are both drawn from the same Batman Year 2 kind of storyline. They've just took their own different interpretations of them. I don't think you need to live actionize Batman Mask of the Phantasm. It works. The fact that it's animated does not diminish the well-told story of that film. So it'd be kind of just a waste of money to do it, in my opinion. I mean, I'd rather just get, that writing team in their prime, in their mindset at that period to write another Batman movie, because they were firing on all cylinders. Now, sadly today, like Paul Dini, as good of a writer as he was, he's not thinking in that mindset anymore. He doesn't have to. So we're never going to get something that good out of him again. At least not anytime soon. and same with Boyd Kirkland and all the others. You just have to find another generation of writers that know how to write a great story, know how to do their research on the characters that they want to incorporate into such a story, and that they have the right support team around them to make sure that they make it as best as they possibly can with the resources that they have. And, those teams are really hard to find.
I just like to live in that mind space of the Batman the Animated Series is this perfect show, and it just lives in its own bubble. And I'm worried that people are gonna put that new one, the Caped Crusader, on Amazon Prime. They're gonna try to make it's a spiritual successor, it's this, it's that. I get it, it's Bruce Timm and there's some crossover, but it's its own thing. Let's not.
Yeah,
it's like the AEW game. Don't try to cash in on the goodwill of WWF No Mercy. Your game, No Mercy, are not the same game. This show, the original animated series, not the same show. I hope they keep that in context, because you can't replicate that magic.
You really can't. You can only make your own. And I will say this: they got Linklater to voice Batman, which was a big mistake, because he's actually a poisonous actor. Like, I mean, everything he's in is not really considered good. He's just not a good guy. I think people confuse him with Richard Linklater, and that's why and also some of the relatives he's had in the industry that helped him get there. He's anchored in as a nepo cast. So yeah, like they're also heavily altering his voice in post-production as well for it, to try and make it sound a little bit more like Kevin Conroy, which Warner Brothers has been doing whenever they couldn't get Kevin Conroy in for an animated show. So
yeah, but it was always pretty blatantly obvious that it wasn't him. Like
Mhm.
it was never particularly
sounded like
close.
same thing when they would get the sound alikes for Mark Hamill when they couldn't get him for that.
I hated when they used John DiMaggio to do the Joker. I never liked his Joker ever.
No,
it was just so much him, and I was like, ugh.
It's still John DiMaggio. However, you have Brent Spiner did a pretty good Joker in the Young Justice cartoons.
I have to go back and re-listen to that because I don't remember what it sounds like.
Well, he only showed up, I think, in like 3 or 4 episodes. And Young Justice, oh man, that Greg Weisman and his team trying to navigate the mandate at the time of incorporating a bit more diversity into the show without trying to ruin the show was really hard because season 3 was tough.
I heard that's where it kind of fell off a cliff.
Yeah, season 4 kind of came back a little bit, but they broke it up in a weird narrative way that just didn't keep the story moving as good as it could have been. But I would say, like, after Kevin Conroy, one of the better successors was probably Diedrich Bader because he did Brave and the Bold, and Brave and the Bold is peak Batman fun because it stems more of the 60s. So where Batman the Animated Series is the Bronze Age, Batman Brave and the Bold is kind of making the Silver Age, a good homage to that.
I've really gone back to appreciate that show.
Yeah.
It's got a great intro and the art's beautiful. It's so crisp and bold. And it's I think it's the first fully digital Batman show. I don't know how much was done in the Batman, that weird, like, in between.
Oh, the mixed manga one. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I hated that show, man. He looked like a thumb, you know?
Yep.
Anyway, Diedrich Bader is still a good Batman. I agree. He's my second favorite voice actor to do Batman because he's distinct, and I don't consider Adam West a voice actor to do Batman because he played him first and then would do the voice later. So I'm removing him from that.
Fair enough.
Real quick, we had an email from Clone Geek. Guys, cocaine sharks are now a thing.
What?
I'll get writing it. Okay.
Sharks in the water off Brazil have tested positive for cocaine, marine biologists said in a new study marking the first time the drug has been found in the free-ranging predators. 13 sharp-nosed sharks were taken from the coast of Rio de Janeiro and tested for cocaine and benzoglycanine, a primary molecule in cocaine. Each shark's liver and muscles tested positive for high levels of cocaine. The study found that the female sharks tested had higher concentrations of cocaine in their muscles than the male sharks. Scientists who dubbed the study Cocaine Shark posited that the study may show a correlation between shark weight and size and how to metabolize cocaine, but the study noted that more research was necessary.
Okay, can you forward that to me? Because I've already written the third act right now to Cocaine Shark.
Gosh.
And it will be better than Cocaine Bear because Cocaine Bear sucked. I predicted it would suck, just like Snakes on a Plane, because it did all the same mistakes that Snakes on a Plane did. I will write Cocaine Shark.
Well, there's the email, my man. So,
thank you, sir.
Right away. John Thomas, thank you very much. Script, when you win Best Screenplay Oscar, will you do a Scooby-Doo villain reveal?
No. But my one hint will be it'll be a one-word acceptance.
Something tells me I'm gonna know. I'm just gonna know. I'm just gonna, and I would never tell anybody. I wouldn't text Andrew and be like, "That was him." I wouldn't even think about it too much, just in case I gave off a hint facially. But I'd know.
Yeah, I'm never going to win a Best Screenplay Oscar. I write genre material that rarely ever gets nominated for Oscars, Academy Awards. I love genre material. That's why it's the best.
We could just write the motion picture ass. It would sweep the Oscars, and then the prophecy would be fulfilled.
It would sweep the Oscars, huh?
It did in Idiocracy, and we live in Idiocracy. Guys, we will be back on Thursday with the Deadpool review and a full podcast about a lot of stuff. Thank you for all the support you guys sent our way to the channel. We appreciate that. It helps us grow and it helps keep us moving forward. But I want to thank everybody again for making WOKEBUSTERS a hit. It's a success, and now it's on its way to you. I will continually update you guys each and every week when there's new stuff to talk about, or we'll just talk about humorous things to get you excited for the book. But I don't want to spoil too much for you. I've told a lot, but not as much as you think. Remember, it's 100 pages, so you get a lot of story, and there's a little bit of bonus content at the end, too. So everybody can get a lot of fun out of the book. TLJ Screwjob, could you send me that article on Twitter? I have to look into it about Leslie Headland. But guys, thank you for watching. Andrew Script, is there anything you need to say before we go?
Support WOKEBUSTERS while you can, guys. Get out there.
Always
Funded,
support
you'll get it.
indie comics for sure. Like whether you are still buying mainstream or larger indie publishers stuff or not, absolutely take a look and see at all the awesome independent stuff that's out there, whether it's WOKEBUSTERS, Stealing Solo, you know, stuff that we've got going over at the Rippaverse, whatever tickles your fancy. Find those independent projects and support those creators. If we want good stories, if we want entertainment that is appealing to us as an audience, then we need to actually put our money where our mouth is and support said things.
We do. And also, too, I want to support Father O'Malley with Lesbian Headband is hot. That's my guys. That's been my favorite name. I will tell people in real life, like, oh, my audience calls her Lesbian Headband, and we just get a chuckle every time. So thank you guys. I love Lesbian Headband. That should also be a band as well. So, folks, check out Script Doctor's Patreon. He's got a lot of awesome stuff on there. Script Doctor, what else is on there besides awesome stuff?
Well, you have access to me a lot easier than you do on Twitter. There's that. I also have some exclusive interviews on there. I have some exclusive screenplays that you can read, and they're not mine, but they're ones that are out there that you can read, and I have done reviews for. And you also get advance notice onto the types of screenplays we'll be reviewing on my show on Saturday called Scripts on Saturdays. In fact, this last week, one of the scripts we'll be reviewing was recently purchased by Orion Studios and is most likely going into production this fall. So we are going to read that script and determine, is Orion, do they have their wits about them, or did they purchase a dud? You will find that out first this Saturday at 7 p.m. on Scripts on Saturdays.
So folks, don't miss it this Saturday. Also, too, well before that, I'm going to do another Saturday stream. We're going to see how far we can push WOKEBUSTERS. I'm excited. But you guys seem to like the unboxings and the learning more about me. So we'll do more of that. I'll find some cool stuff to show you guys. I have this giant Batman set. It's a bat cave. It's too big to fit on a shelf. So it kind of lives in a box on the side here, over here. So maybe I'll share that with you. Maybe I'll pull some more stuff off the shelf. Maybe we'll tell you why I like Buzz Lightyear. Who knows? But we'll have a lot of fun. I'll have a video out tomorrow. I'll be back with Good Morning Pop Culture, and we're going to keep the ball rolling. We want 200K by the end of this year. I really want it by the end of this month. We're so close. 197 and change, folks. We're going to make it happen. And then it's off to the million. But until then, folks, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other.
I remember when I was doing Hunger Games, nobody had ever put a woman in the lead of an action movie because it wouldn't work. We were told girls and boys can